Is Forza Horizon 5 coming to PS5? Well, a recent round of rumors and screenshots has the gaming world all abuzz, and we have one insider saying that next week there will be a big Xbox game coming to PS5 announcement. They will be announcing another big game. It's not going to be something maybe that's like smaller or lesser known or experimental, but it was described as something big. And then there was an Amazon store screenshot that started circulating showing Forza Horizon 5 listed as a PS5 game and coming in September of this year. Now, I have tested out how to get those results because some people were questioning the authenticity of the picture. And if you go to Google and you search like Amazon UK, Forza PS5 or something like that, you get results that are a bit strange. And you can do this with Starfield PS5, Amazon UK Starfield PS5, and you get very strange results on Google. I don't think that information is all that reliable. It seems to be sort of like junk data. It's basically one search engine talking to another search engine. So I don't think there's a lot of credibility to that. I don't think that release date means anything, but others weighed in on not just the image, but the claim that it would be Forza Horizon. Now, Jez Corden from Windows Central reported on this, and he said the following, quote, "My sources indicate that Forza will not be announced for PlayStation next week." Now, I do think he's very careful with his wording as well as his sources. That's not a denial that Forza will be coming. It's just sort of a denial that it will be not announced next week. It seems like it would be a pretty strong denial if they're like, nah, there's no plans to do that right now. Tom Warren also agrees with this statement, saying that the big game that will be announced next week coming to PlayStation from Xbox, he indicated that he knew what it was and couldn't say, and he did say that it would not be Forza. Now, Xtasis, who is a notable leaker, claims that Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PS5 in the not too distant future, but says that the announcement could be any time. It's not necessarily needs to be next week, and it doesn't need to be, forced into like a Gamescom thing. He seemed to think that the announcement was imminent. Shinobi also claimed that there will be a big announcement next week. So that's why I think people started thinking that, it's going to be Forza Horizon 5. Now, Xtasis also claimed that they confirmed with multiple colleagues that Forza Horizon 5 is in fact coming to PS5, but that the announcement is simply imminent, not necessarily the thing happening at Gamescom. Now, I was told privately about opening night live with Jeff Keighley. That will be when this announcement takes place. And the person that told me this privately has indicated that the big game announcement coming to PlayStation 5 will be Indiana Jones. Now, I have no way of vetting or corroborating this claim. I actually feel like Tom Warren reported on this in the past, mentioned Indiana Jones as one of the games that was coming. We've heard other insiders saying that they've heard Indiana Jones is coming. So I don't have a way of vetting this. This is just me relaying to you what I was told. But I will say, Indiana Jones, much like Blade, it actually kind of makes sense as a multi-plat release. There's licensing, there's likely a desire to maximize copies sold, and PlayStation's a larger platform at this point, and for next-gen games. And they aren't going to have it on Game Pass, so that's going to be another way to increase sales by doing that. We know from the Insomniac leaks that big companies, when they license out their property, they want to see a big return on that, and Xbox hasn't been the greatest in that department with respect to when a game lands on Game Pass, it tends to cannibalize the sales. They're the smallest next-gen footprint right now, falling behind, other generations that they've had. Their hardware is not in a good spot. So it actually, to me, makes sense that it could be Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is one of the big announcements that's going to be part of the opening night live with Jeff Keighley. So that's what I've been told. The real question then is if Forza Horizon 5 is coming, when. I don't think it's a matter of really asking what games anymore. I think it's only a matter of time before this isn't really even going to register as a surprise. I think a lot of us saw this coming. The CFO remarks at the end of last year, we were told that he's just talking about ABK, which was just a horrendously bad read of that. You could tell he was talking to people that were not very adept in the gaming industry. It was, money people. It was investors, would-be investors at a Wells Fargo summit. And so I do think more and more games will be coming, and around this time next year, by the time we get about halfway through 2025, I don't even think it's going to be a shock anymore. I think it's just going to be described as, yep, that's just what Xbox does now. I do think you will see games come to Xbox first, like avowed, but I don't necessarily think anything is sacred or safe. I think anything is up for grabs and will come over if they feel that they can make money off of it. This is why from the very beginning I was like, Blade's a multi-plat. Like, you wouldn't have an exclusive and not make that very clear from the very beginning. And in light of everything that's happened now, it's like, yeah, Blade's definitely going to be a multi-plat. So is Forza Horizon 5 coming to PlayStation 5? Well, it would seem that yes, some insiders and folks that are in the know and connected, they say it is coming in the near future, but there seems to be consensus that the big game announced next week will not be Forza Horizon 5, which begs the question, which game will it be? And that was just a quick flyover summary with what I think. Now it's time to hear what you think. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. If you're watching this later, you're watching a live stream past broadcast. So make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell button and smash that like button. It'll ensure that the video finds more people, and then this content will keep showing up on your homepage and in your subscriber feed. So thanks so much for being here, guys. We already kind of discussed some of this in Morning Coffee, and I kind of kept the one part a secret that I was told by somebody that they're like, hey, I heard it's Indiana Jones, and I was like, okay. And then I saw Tom Warren weighing in. I was like, I'm pretty sure Tom Warren said in the past that he had heard Indiana Jones was one of the games coming. So that game would make sense to me, given that it's licensed property. It would be one that would make sense as a multiplat. That would still feel very fast. I still feel like Indiana Jones' timeline has been incredibly quick as far as turnaround. So Han shot first, and so did you. Thank you so much for the first gifted member of the day from Joker Quinn. You guys got a bit of a ways to go if you want to turn Friday night into a community game night. And thank you to everybody who has been upgrading to Member Plus or above. We're trying to get people either on Member Plus or VIP, and that all adds up and helps support the channel. And we will start doing, some celebration streams on the weekend. I know a lot of you guys can't make it to Friday night. And currently we have 496 people at Member Plus and above. So we just need 4 more to hit that milestone. Street Shadow with 5 months of membership says Horizon 5 would be a great game to get. I played it a bit on the PC, but with my little dude coming soon, be able to play that on the TV would be great. Eugene says also, if it's Indiana Jones, that all but guarantees Blade is multi-plat at launch. It would be a big Band-Aid rip. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was as clear as crystal that Blade was a multi-plat because the way they announced it, it was like you wouldn't do that. Like if Blade was an exclusive, that would have been shouted from the rooftops. Patrick Q with a gifted member. Starting things off strong today with a couple gifted members. You guys can always gift like that and pay it forward to others. And if you've been getting a gifted membership and you're like, hey, I can pick up my own, you can give up your seat to somebody else by buying your own membership, and then you make room for others in the community. Thank you so much, Patrick Q. Yeah. To me, when we started hearing that Indiana Jones was one of the games, I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. When it's a big piece of property like that, the property owner is going to want return on that. They're going to want to see royalties. And if, you're continuing this Game Pass thing, you're going to hurt the potential sales of the game. I think that's just basic wisdom at this point. It's like, yeah, anybody with any sense of business would be like, well, the FTC trial, Xbox admitted that Game Pass creates a cannibalizing effect on sales. So if they're going to enter into agreements with companies to make games like Blade and Indiana Jones, those agreements are probably going to dictate that the games need to be multi-plat. They need to be on PlayStation. That again, to me, is just business analysis. I know this is going to get turned into, I said this during Morning Coffee, this will become, an opportunity for people to throw around the term port begging and port beggar, which I think is hilarious. It's such a lack of self-awareness to, instead of just admit that the brand is changing, you want to turn it into an opportunity to name call. I don't see anybody port begging by saying, Microsoft is employing a software strategy. Like, Microsoft is basically driving the ship. That doesn't feel like port begging to me. That feels like business analysis. I mean, I know that's tough when you misinterpret comments from a CFO and accuse other people of having comprehension problems, but this isn't a port begging situation. For me personally, for anybody really. I mean, I'm not port begging for Forza Horizon. I'm not port begging for Indiana Jones. I've continually said that I think Indiana Jones looks kind of rough and that I wish it was third person. and that it feels like the development cycle for that's just been too small and too short. Indie was announced in 2021. It means they probably started the dev in 2019 or so. Should be plenty of time for the narrative, for a narrative-driven multiplat. I felt like with the way that was all handled, Eugene, I thought we learned that they hadn't really started on Indie until 2021. Maybe I have the timeline wrong, but that was what I understood, and that's why I've always said that seems like a really short timeline. I thought that the dev started in 2021. I don't even know if when was the contract signed? Isn't there a date on that? Member Plus renewal from Reckless Gambit. It's not a port if it's a multi-platform release. Microsoft wants to sell video games, and that's hard to do on the Xbox. Thank you so much, Reckless Gambit, for taking us to 235. What's interesting is that is what Shinobi replied to. That's a good point, Reckless Gambit. Shinobi did reply to somebody saying something about a big port. That wouldn't necessarily be Indiana Jones. So maybe Indiana Jones is a misfire. People might be misfiring on that. I don't know about that. I think that might be a good point. Unless Shinobi was just saying, like, oh no, it's going to be a big Xbox title coming to PlayStation 5. Maybe they didn't qualify and say, well, it's not going to be a port. Shinobi doesn't like to give details, and Shinobi doesn't like to leak and say, oh, it's what it was. So maybe that's why they kept it generic. I mean, if it is Indiana Jones, that would be why they wouldn't correct the person. Because if they corrected the person and said, well, this isn't exactly a port, but there's a big game going to be announced for PS5, well, then everybody will be able to piece that together pretty easily. They'd be like, well, there's only so many games that could be. Right? Forza would be a port, and if Shinobi said, oh, it's not a port, do you see what I'm saying? If Shinobi corrected that person and said, oh, it's not going to be a port, but a big Xbox game is going to get announced for PlayStation 5, there's only a couple of games that could be. And I feel like Shinobi doesn't like to let things, he doesn't like to let details out of the bag, as it were. Machine Games haven't worked on a game since Young Blood, so it's likely they started working on Indiana Jones not long after that. So surely it's been like 4 or 5 years. I don't know. I feel like that's really presumptive. I don't want to presume that the game's been in development for 4 or 5 years. I hope you're right. I do. Then that's really fast. I'm just going off the timelines and how they typically are. I thought, maybe I'm wrong. Indiana Jones, when did development start? Indiana Jones development started. No, Indiana Jones game. We got to add game, or we're going to get all the... Right here, development on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, an upcoming video game based on the Indiana Jones franchise, began in January of 2021. The game was announced with Machine Games as the developer. The game was teased by Bethesda in January of 2021 with a trailer that included Easter eggs. Like, this is pulling from the Wikipedia. I don't know if there's been concrete info, but like I said, I swore I remembered reading that. Like, they actually didn't start until 2021. It was teased in 2021. This is according to Games Radar. Yeah, it's hard to know. Google's scraping for that information. I don't know. It seems like they're pulling it from the wiki, and they might be pulling it in error. Hang on. Development. This is according to the Wikipedia. As of mid-2021, the game was in very early state development, and that was according to this article here. Right here. Indiana Jones game is in very, very, very early stages, according to Bethesda. This is in the middle of 2021. Yesterday, on June 16th, GameSpot held its special Play for All event, which included appearances and interviews from developers. One of the guests was Bethesda's Senior Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications, Pete Hines, who revealed that the new Indiana Jones game from Machine Games was in very, very, very early stages of development. I told you, I was like, I know I remember hearing that they basically started on the game in 2021. If Pete Hines is saying that in the middle of 2021, I've continued to tell you guys that timeline just feels incredibly short to me. That's what, 2022 to 2022? That's not even a full 3 years. That's not even a full 3 years for a AAA licensed game? Like, I don't know. I don't think it's Indiana Jones now, upon further reflection. Again, I just relayed what was told to me. I don't think it's Indiana Jones. It makes sense that it would be Indiana Jones from a licensing perspective because Blade will be multi-plat because of the licensing. It's like they're not going to license their property to you so you can put on a freaking Game Pass. They're going to license the property to you and they're going to want it sold, especially Marvel. Marvel knows the power of their property, in particular, on the PlayStation platform because of Spider-Man. So that one makes sense to me. And so I looked at Indiana Jones like, I guess that makes sense. But again, I continued to tell you guys this. It wasn't hate. It was like, I feel like the timeline for Indiana Jones has been way too short. I remember saying that about Hellblade 2 when in the beginning of 2023, there were people saying, oh, Hellblade 2 is coming this year. It's coming this year. I was like, no, it's not. It's not been in development long enough. And look at the game. The game came out this year, and it's a very short game. They didn't expand the scope of the game at all. If anything, I feel like they shrunk the scope of the game because so much of that game is non-substantive walking. Like, I feel like there's, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I felt like there was more content in the first game. Your initial thought was Starfield, Eugene? I mean, Xbox Era indicated what I always thought was going to be the plan, which is you would use all the updates, all of the quality of life patches, and then you would use your DLC to give Starfield its sort of, rub the paddles together, kapunk, make the game more beloved and liked by the larger gaming world. Excuse me. And then you would bring it to PlayStation 5. DLC is coming. Announce the port now for a release alongside the DLC, maybe to maximize sales. Yeah, I don't know. It always made more sense to me to do it the other way, Eugene, but you could be right. I mean, a combo, like a complete edition of Starfield with Shattered Space, like a bundled edition sold at 60 or 70, might help, to subsidize all the work they're pouring into the game, because I think they know it could potentially sell very well on Starfield. I just thought they wanted to have big booming headlines. Starfield Shattered Space is a triumph and a completely different game, and whatever the case may be, and then you would announce it later, because you would sort of have everybody thinking like, oh my gosh, yes, Starfield's gotten to a much better state now. Would they announce Stalker 2 as a multiplat? They don't need to announce Stalker 2 as a multiplat because it's only a 3-month exclusive, John. It's a timed exclusive. So there's no announcement for Stalker 2 that would be described as a big game being ported. Stalker 2 is only a 3-month... It's a non-first party game and it's just a timed exclusive. We're talking about Microsoft. It doesn't have to make sense. Mr. Anderson says, genuine question, but has Microsoft elevated any studios they purchased to the next level? I mean, that's been something that I've been very critical of. I don't feel like Microsoft has been good for the gaming industry. I feel like they buy really great studios and really great property, and I think Microsoft, not Xbox, Microsoft ruins games and studios. That's what I feel. You look at the history of what they buy, and it's not good. It's not strong. I don't think they've done a good job with the property and the studios that they own. And that was always the concern with ABK. It was like, you're going to buy all this property. And I said, one of the first things they're going to do is shut down studios. And that's literally what happened. And thank goodness that, it's seemingly Hi-Fi Rush has been saved as a piece of property as well as a studio. But that's not going to happen every time. Like, that's unusual that happened. Mash says, I feel that Indiana Jones isn't a high production cost game, but maybe it's my feel. I have suspicion it's a mid-sized game. I mean, that could potentially be a fair pushback, Mash, when I say that, you know, I don't feel like Indiana Jones has been in development long enough. When you have Pete Hines saying in the middle of 2021, it's in very, very, very early development. He really stressed the fact that, like, it was like we barely started is what it seemed to be indicating. What Pete Hines said in 2021 doesn't sound like, oh yeah, the game's been in development since 2019, so it's probably well on its way. He seemed to make it sound like they had just gotten started with the way that he phrased it. You know, Forza Horizon 5 coming to PS5, I had people this morning in Morning Coffee, they were like, well, would PlayStation be okay with that because they have Gran Turismo? And I'm like, I don't think PlayStation cares. I think PlayStation loves the idea of that's one more reason for somebody to be like, I guess I just get a PS5 instead. That's just one more reason to be like, I guess I just don't really need my Xbox anymore. And a 20 bomb from MASH. This man is insane. Unbelievable. Oops. Unbelievable from MASH. I can't type this morning. There it is. And he gets us to the halfway point of the member goal. This man's going to need some help, chat. He needs some tag team partners. Forza Horizon 5 is amazing. I think it's great for PlayStation fans to get to play it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a car guy. I think I played Gran Turismo, a whopping 45 minutes maybe just to test out the PSVR 2. I had my friends try it out. They really liked it. But, I mean, they would just race on a track and just get to experience VR. Like, I'm just not, like, into racing games. So, you know, more reason to use PC. Yeah, I mean, that certainly is Spice King. That's what some people have decided to do. They're like, well, I'm just going to go to PC. You know, they're like, if I wait long enough, I'll get big PlayStation exclusives, and I get all the Xbox stuff day one on PC. So, and then I also get everything on Steam. So, yeah, a lot of people have concluded that moving to PC is a good decision. But I'm arguing from the perspective of PlayStation, because people said this morning, like, oh, would PlayStation be okay with Forza coming over? And I'm like, dude, PlayStation doesn't care. If PlayStation has one more game on their platform that gives you a reason to buy their box instead of the Xbox, they consider that a win. They're not like, oh, it's going to take away from Gran Turismo. If you know, you know. Yeah, the Grand Tour game. That's right. That's right. Oh, man. There's enough room for both, Forza and Gran Turismo. Need for Speed until recently was pretty successful. Your Series X made you buy a PC. Yeah, I mean, from the consumer's perspective, I think a lot of people are being given reasons to either go to PC or PlayStation. I was simply saying from PlayStation's perspective, they're not going to be worried at all about Forza coming over to PlayStation. They're like, that's just one more reason for people to leave that ecosystem and come to ours, you know? Brooklyn Breed with 14 months says, thank God it ain't Forza. I don't feel like seeing a bunch of people upset on my timeline, even though Phil told us this would happen almost 14 months. Let's go. Let's go. Brooklyn, here's the thing, though. Forza's not going to be announced next week, but the insiders that seem to know are like, oh, no, it's coming. Forza's coming. And even Jez Corden, seemingly, I don't know if he'll stop by today. He stopped by the other day. I'd be curious. He phrased it in a very particular way. He's like, my sources have said that Forza coming to PlayStation will not be announced next week. So all he's saying is the big announcement next week isn't Forza. Now that's not, and Tom Warren agrees. Tom Warren said, no, it's not Forza. That doesn't mean that Forza isn't coming, though. Ecstasis was like, no, Forza's coming. And Ecstasis claimed to have spoken to multiple colleagues that are like, oh yeah, the announcement about Forza is imminent, and it is one of the games coming. So, if Ecstasis is just completely wrong, making stuff up, or has bad intel, then so does the people that he conferred with. So we'll see. And then I was told it was Indiana Jones, and now the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't think it's Indiana Jones. I don't think they've had enough time to build a multi-plat game. I don't think so. It's not been in development long enough. A $5 super chat tip from Great Shadow. Gran Turismo is a much different game than Forza Horizon. Gran Turismo is much more sim-focused and is massive in Europe and Japan. Horizon's more arcadey, different audience. Surely a different audience, yes. I had people saying that this morning in Morning Coffee. Shelly says, the Gamescom advertisement that Xbox just posted lists Forza Horizon 5 as one of the games they're going to be talking about at Gamescom. Yeah, let me show you this image because I do think this is an interesting observation. I don't know if this is any kind of a smoke signal or if anything's happening, but I do think that this is very interesting. That Xbox is going to have one of its largest presences that they've had ever at Gamescom. At least that's what they've been saying, right? And the top part of this image was tweeted out. And Xbox at Gamescom, they're going to be doing live streams all 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you'll notice on Wednesday, August the 21st, right down here is Forza Horizon 5. Now, I find this interesting because Forza Horizon 5 at this point is basically a 4-year-old game. So are you suddenly deciding to do DLC for a 4-year-old game? Some kind of an update? I don't know. What on earth is this here for? You know, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. You know, and if you're like, oh well, this showcase's theme's going to be DLC because Diablo Vessel of Hatred and Immortal and Starfield Shattered Space. Okay, maybe it seems like a weird time to add DLC. You know, I don't know. I don't know why they would come to Gamescom and talk about Forza Horizon 5 unless it's hitting new regions or they just want to show it off because it's such a great showcase of graphics. Like it really is, I think, one of their best looking games. It's probably one of their best looking games. It and Hellblade 2 are their two best looking games. So possibly. Why has nobody said Avowed? Because Avowed got delayed and it was described as a port. Somebody asked about a game, when are more games going to get ported over? And Shinobi was like, hey, what about next week? And Shinobi said it was going to be a big game. I don't know if Avowed fits that bill. I don't know if you would describe that as a port because it's not out yet. And I don't know if you would describe Avowed as a big game. When I think of a big game, I'm thinking like Starfield. I'm thinking like past releases like a Forza Horizon. Like those would be like, that's like a big game. Like Avowed's not out yet. Right? Would Shinobi think that way? Would Shinobi think, oh yeah, Avowed's a big game? I don't know. I mean, they've marketed it a lot, but I feel like if you're going to describe a port, I wouldn't say Shinobi confirmed port. I don't think he confirmed a port either. I'm just thinking he answered the question and then described it as a big game. Would Shinobi view Avowed as a big game? I don't, because it's not out yet. It could end up coming out and being considered a big game, but I don't know. Fuzzy says my sleeper is still Flight Sim. Yeah, Flight Sim in my mind, that would be a big game. That like what Wired Rope is saying. Like a tentpole game like Flight Sim. That's why when I was told privately that it was Indiana Jones, I was like, okay, no, that's a big game because it's a big IP. It's a licensed product. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It could be anything. If we're talking strictly ports, then that rules out new releases. Yep, there are people that think it's Starfield. There are people that think it is Indiana Jones. And then it's not Forza. We know that almost for certain. If both Jez Cord and Anton Warren are agreeing that it's not Forza, then it's not Forza. But they are not saying that Forza's not coming. Right? They're not saying that it's not coming. They're just saying it's not the one that will be announced next week. Embracer sales decreased by 34%. Oh boy. I do think Flight Sim makes some sense. Also, it has no competition on PS5. I was told that during opening night live with Jeff Keighley, it would be announced. And Indiana Jones is going to be at opening night live with Jeff Keighley. So it's clearly Fusion Frenzy. I don't know how you guys can't see it. I think Halo Infinite would make sense to bolster the multiplayer community, but they maybe are afraid. I owe you guys 5 members. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Quickly smash the like button, guys. Let's try to get 200 likes. And consider becoming a member or gifting some members. Help us hit our goal. If you do pick up your own membership, make sure you pick Member Plus. We are really close to a goal on the Member Plus and above. So thank you to everybody who's upgraded. And there's the 5 that I owe you. Thoughts on my theory, says Shelly. Shelly says, could it be Elder Scrolls Oblivion? That remaster has been rumored, but the original never came to PlayStation. That's a big game. Also Bethesda. I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think that would be how... I don't think they're going to be grabbing stuff like that. Right. I mean, I could be wrong, but my general gut instinct on this is that Microsoft is going to be targeting newer titles and not something like an Oblivion remaster. Again, I could be completely and totally wrong, but I think they're going to be targeting newer titles. Something more like a Forza that's like from 4 years ago, or, you know, people are saying Master Chief Collection, Gears. I have always said that Special Nick continued to say that the Gears collection was coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's real. It's coming. One of the reasons that the Gears collection may have completely pumped the brakes and just didn't show up is they might have decided that this is going to be a great, multi-plat. So let's pump the brakes on it and let's get it ready for multi-plat. I mean, so yeah, maybe Oblivion was on PS3. Oh, the original was on PlayStation? Yeah, so that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. Detective C says, it seems that our prediction of having Jeff announce the Xbox games going to PlayStation is coming to fruition to separate themselves from it. Oh, you're right, Seeds. I forgot that we said they would have Jeff do it based on what Tim Dog said the one time. He revealed that Microsoft, they like using him to soften the blow of the announcement because it's not them. It's like, well, we're not announcing it. He's announcing it. Yeah, I remember us saying that. Sneaky Wolf says, I responded to what you said. Avowed's been in development long enough to drop multi-plat. I mean, it's been in development long enough to drop multi-plat, but again, in the context of the question that Shinobi was asked, hey, are there any big... Let's just look at it. Let's look at it. I don't know if Shinobi was specifically... Shinobio. No, just Shinobi. This guy says, I wonder when the next round of ported games are coming. And Shinobi says, what are you doing next week? Again, that doesn't sound like... That wouldn't be Avowed. That wouldn't be, the next round of ported games. If you suddenly announce... Oh my gosh. If Avowed gets delayed and then gets announced to be a multi-plat... That whole, we pushed it back to help your backlog. Oh, golly. You talk about a marketing disaster. You can't keep touting, Avowed the way they've touted it and then suddenly turn it into a multi-plat announcement. Killer Instinct? No, I feel like Shinobi shot down Killer Instinct because this person here said, I'm going to guess Killer Instinct is one of them, assuming it's multiple. And Shinobi says, I don't know about multiple, but a big one at least. You see? So Shinobi shoots down the idea that softly shoots down the idea that it could be multiple and seems to indicate it's going to be a big one. Again, within the context of that discussion, I don't think it's Avowed. I don't think it's Avowed. If it's a big port, it would be something that's already out. It would have to be something that's already out. I think that's why everybody thought, oh, Forza, because that somebody went and did that Amazon search and made it look like, oh yeah, there's a placeholder date for Forza, Horizon 5 on PS5 or whatever. You're guessing Indiana Jones for one reason and one reason only, Disney. When I was told it was Indiana Jones, Zinthos, that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, well, that makes sense because of the licensing. Yeah. Yeah. Middle-aged gamage or whatever. How do you say his name? He's the co-host of the XNC podcast. He's actually always been nice to me. Mag, MAGG. You saw my responses? He retweeted my response. I said, it's too much. It's too much. Because he said, make everybody suffer with Redfall. Like, you know what I mean? And some guy replied and said, look no further than this insider Jimmy Neutron fraud. I mean, what are you guys going to do when what I said is coming comes? Oh, it's middle-aged game guy. Oh, middle-aged game guy. His Twitter handle just doesn't have enough room, so he's middle-aged gamagi. Middle-aged game guy. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah. Yeah, Mag's always been nice to me. You know, we've DM'd a couple of times. I don't feel like he's ever been, you know, been unkind or uncharitable like, you know, some people from that side have been. I feel like he's always been nice. I thought it was funny when he was like, bring Redfall over to PS5 so that we can all suffer equally. I thought that was funny. It's 100% going to be Redfall? No. I don't think Redfall would make sense. I think that would be a mistake. Yeah. I had to suffer Redfall. It's not fair. You all don't. Mag is cool and operates more in reality. I mean, I've seen clips and I feel like he always shoots pretty straight. I feel like he's more, I don't know. Yeah, like he's just more of like, he seems more factual than ideological. And I think that is always a good thing. You know, it keeps people sort of grounded and, you know. Blade too early? Yeah, it's too early for Blade. I don't think they're going to do anything else with Blade for a while. Yeah. I don't think they're going to do anything else with Blade for a while. Then again, PlayStation are letting all the trashy AI games onto the PlayStation Store and have no quality filter. Yeah, I've seen people talk about that. I also don't like how PlayStation continues to let, you know, really bad ports come over to PSVR 2. The latest game that came out, you know what happened as soon as I saw that it was a port for the PSVR 2? I just stopped looking. I was like, you guys let like 10 games in a row come over to the VR2 and they weren't even freaking ready. Like, So now when I see a PSVR 2 game announcement and I learn that it's a port, I don't even pay attention to it. I just assume it's going to be crap. I'm like, all right. The lack of quality control from PlayStation has been very, very frustrating. It's like, you want the PSVR 2 to do well? Stop letting, you know, game companies port their VR games over when they're not ready. If Indie is multiplat, Blade would be as well. I don't think Indiana Jones being multiplat has any bearing on Blade. I think Blade has been a multiplat since the beginning, and everybody was just in denial. Everybody was just in denial. I got mercilessly attacked for saying that Blade was a multiplat. I got called a port beggar, and it's like, okay, I know this is hard to understand, but I have like 2 gaming rigs, maybe 3 gaming rigs. I have an Xbox Series X. Like, you don't have to port beg when you own every single platform, right? But, you know, beggars see beggars everywhere. And it's like, all I ever did with Blade was analyze the situation from a logical perspective. It was like, you go out main stage at an event and you announce a Marvel video game and you're not going to tout it as an exclusive. What platform keeps exclusivity a secret? Like, we're not going to tell you. We like to be mysterious. I said from the very beginning Blade was multi-plat. The only people who didn't think Blade was multi-plat were in denial. It was like, you're in denial. It was so obvious. It was so obvious. They made no mention of Xbox. They didn't even say the word in the announcement. No, it's a secret exclusive. Those are so hot right now. Yeah, exactly, Zubair. No one's going to walk out and flex a Marvel deal, you know, a Marvel game, and not be like, it's an exclusive. But it was easy to see because it was like they've pivoted. Like, what's an exclusive do for Xbox right now? What does it do? They deprioritize their own hardware. The minute they deprioritize their own hardware and you start telling people they don't need your console, exclusives no longer serve any purpose. They really don't. Like, if you really think about what's the purpose of an exclusive, it's to get people to buy the hardware. That's it. That's the only reason for them. Just months before those people saw how expensive Disney IP was because of the Insomniac leaks, it should have been an easy logic jump to see Blade would be on all platforms. I believe that when I covered it, I made that argument, Eugene. I believe I said, listen, we know that Marvel really wants you to pay the piper when you do anything with their IP, because we're talking about Disney here. So I don't think you're making a Marvel game unless you can guarantee a massive amount of, return, which obviously Spidey has achieved that on the PlayStation platform, but they also put Spidey on PC. And you could see that was the one game that came to PC and was more expensive than the other games when they came to PC, likely driven by that contract with Marvel. Do you guys remember that? We were like, oh, I can't believe that Spidey didn't outdo God of War on PC, and a lot of people pointed to the price, and they said it was too expensive. It was like, this game's how old and finally coming to PC, and you want to charge, what was it, like $60? They were basically charging full price for it, because $60 on Steam is essentially full price, right? I guarantee you that was because of the contract with Marvel. They were like, we need to make as much money as we can off of this. And charging the people that will buy Spider-Man pretty much no matter what an extra $10 is worth it, instead of selling it for whatever they were doing when they brought games over. Weren't they selling them for $50 typically when they brought them over to Steam at the time? I can't remember. But I do remember Spider-Man's price point in Steam being an issue with people. They were like, why are you charging full price for a game that's been out for a while? Indie is Disney as well. Right. We're applying that logic. Sorry if I'm not connecting the dots. When somebody told me it's Indiana Jones, it's going to be opening night live with Jeff Keighley, I was like, that makes sense because that's Disney. And Disney is far more likely to say, if we're going to enter this agreement with you, this is what we need to see on the return. And Xbox is like, well, we're not going to hit that if we only put it on our platform and PC. Like, you're going to need PlayStation to hit those numbers, because their games don't sell in high quantities because of Game Pass. You've got X number, however many millions of people that don't have to buy the game. Now, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate going forward is going to be the only one with day and date, starting in next month. But even that's going to take a while for people to trickle off of the standard version. Doesn't lose day and date. If they fall off of the standard Game Pass and then sign up for the new standard version, they will no longer have it. So there's still going to be 20-something million people probably that don't have to buy Indiana Jones, that don't have to buy, Avowed or Blade whenever Blade finally comes out. It's like, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of non-sales interaction with a piece of Disney property. And you guys know me, I don't have any love for Disney. I feel like they've irreparably harmed one of the best film franchises in history. I feel like they have irreparably harmed Star Wars with their terrible quality and their emphasis on cadence over quality. And I think they're the reason that Star Wars Jedi Survivor came out at least a year before it was ready, because they wanted a new Star Wars game every 6 months, which is a stupid way to release games. We think it's great that you have this great property, but you can't come to the gaming world and be like, we want a game every 6 months. Like, what? Like, that's not how we operate, brother. I think it would just be hilarious if they launch a multi-plat game and then delay it on Xbox because of the Series S. But that'll never happen. I mean, I think that's a larger question, is it not, MASH? I mean, we're seeing third-party games come to Xbox late because of the Series S. Like, what's that going to do to first-party studios that are like, hey, we want to get Blade out the door, or we want to get XYZ game out the door, and what do you do with that when you start seeing the sales? When they start pumping out a game and they start seeing the sales on PlayStation, I don't know. You're going to start to have some really honest questions being asked about why in the world are we making games for the S? Yeah, we've seen that, Butters. Yes. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, Butters. No. The Disney marketing department, I would imagine, said to release only on Xbox wouldn't be smart given the state of Xbox. Yeah, I mean, you can't be reporting your earnings reports and talking to your shareholders and showing hardware sales down, and then have them be like, no, that's fine. We'll license our property to you, and yeah, and you can put it on just Xbox. Like, there's no way. The whole world knows that Xbox hardware is not doing well. Even Xbox. Even people who are like super pro Xbox have admitted that recently, that like this is a bad situation, that the hardware is in a bad spot. Well, the watching world sees that. I mean, I don't think business execs and decision makers are in the dark on the state of that platform, especially when, I mean, if you track the timeline of what has happened just this year, when Chris Dring of GameIndustry.biz, when he came back from the GDC, he indicated that he had spoken to developers that they're questioning whether or not they should put games on Xbox. He was attacked. He was ridiculed, right? I even saw a clip in a video where somebody was like making fun of the fact that he has a lazy eye, because like that's really high class to do. And then we just now recently hear like the developers of Black Myth Wukong were interviewed alongside of Phantom Blade Zero, and it gets mistranslated that, nobody needs that platform. And they're like, oh, correction, that doesn't represent our values. What we meant to say is it's a platform that doesn't find demand. So, like, the growing consensus has been, even amongst third-party developers, it's just like, well, why would you even put a game over there? You're not going to make your money back. Like we said yesterday, like when I tweeted that bait, because I knew I would get attacked by people who don't understand basic business, and I would, oh, well, just putting a game everywhere automatically means you make more profit. No, it doesn't. Plenty of these companies are learning rather quickly that a great way to shave off their production costs and a great way to get their product to the market faster is to not build for Xbox. Like, to go and say, oh yeah, let's go ahead and keep building for that platform, not if you're not going to get enough sales. If you're gonna spend a bunch of money, marketing and building and going into some part of the city, and you only get 1 or 2 sales, but if you go into this part of the city, you're going to get 10 sales, that's going to justify not going over there. You're like, well, I'm not going to go over there. We don't get good return over there. Our conversion's terrible. You're always going to be making those decisions, especially when you have a limited budget. I personally don't know why PlayStation has even announced or showed off Phantom Blade Zero, though, if it's not coming till 2026. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's one of the weirdest marketing decisions I've seen them make lately, but if the cost outweighs the sales, it won't happen. That's exactly right, and that's why I try to tell people, like, if you have such a juvenile understanding of business that you think that, well, oh no, yeah, that you'll automatically make more money, you'll automatically make more profit, because they don't understand the difference between revenue and profit, that, oh yeah, you should just put the game everywhere. And it's like, no, that's not actually true. Generating more revenue doesn't equal more profit. That's a basic principle of business. So it's like, if you can't grapple with that, that's why they fail to understand. They're like, oh, you would generate more revenue. And it's like, yes, that's never been what's the question. It's that you wouldn't make, as in profit, you wouldn't make more money. You're going to make less money. You're going to generate less profit if you overextend yourself and sell your product in a market where it doesn't do well. Didn't the Phantom Blade dev confirm there's no contract with Sony? Yes, that article seemed to indicate that both the Phantom Blade dev and the Black Myth Wukong dev said there's no deal with Sony. So, I don't know about, like with Blade, I've never heard of a secret exclusive before. It's like, ooh, let's keep it secret that Blade's an exclusive. I remember at the time being like, that. Why would they keep it a secret? And then with Black Myth Wukong, when the theory has been thrown out there that there's a secret exclusivity deal, I've never seen that before. That would be unprecedented, that a company would spend money to get an exclusive and not secure marketing rights and not be behind the marketing, not spearhead the marketing, and not tout the fact that it's another exclusive. Like, exclusivity is worth money because you actually make your platform look more valuable. That's why they tout exclusivity. That's why Stalker 2 is only a 3-month exclusivity, but you better believe it's constantly touted as an exclusive. Why? Because you paid for that. You're not going to pay for exclusivity and be like, shh, keep it quiet. We don't want anybody to know. The whole reason you pay for the exclusivity is you make your platform look more valuable. You tell people that your platform is more valuable. So, I want Starfield to come to PlayStation for petty reasons. I just want to say I told you so to the people ganging up on me, because I said Starfield will eventually come to PlayStation because Microsoft wants money. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about, you know, the petty reasons. Like, I was attacked pretty mercilessly, and the one outlet that attacked me, they don't even exist anymore. Like Games Inquirer or whatever. Like, and then, you know, somebody thought it was a great time to take a dig at me. And even at the time, to his credit, even at the time, Jez Corden tried to point out that, like, that's not a reputable outlet. You know, they don't even exist anymore. Their Twitter account's gone. You know, is it Sunday yet? So, you know, but I don't have like this petty, oh, I can't wait for Starfield to come to PlayStation. My entire outlook with Starfield has always been, try to have your 2.0 moment. Try to have your Cyberpunk moment, because I feel like Bethesda has the ability to do that. I do. I think they have the ability to do that. I think there's a big enough and good enough foundation in Starfield to do that. And so the question would be when and how. And I don't necessarily think that it's the one that's going to be announced, but I certainly think when they added all those performance options, it's like, yeah, that's a very clear indicator. They're getting ready to sell this thing. I love how they changed the video not being a bar when you make a smaller on mobile and you can move it around. Oh, in the mobile app. I don't really care about petty reasons. Petty little chuckle. No, I'll totally get petty when I see somebody get what they deserve. Like, when somebody gets what they deserve, I might get a little petty. But Starfield actually coming to PlayStation is not like, oh, I can't wait for that to happen for petty reasons. I've been cheering for the game because I was a huge fan of the game. There's a short on this channel, and I always get grief because people think I'm a Starfield apologist because they watch the clip and they think it's like a recent clip. It was me defending Starfield against the No Man's Sky comparisons back when we knew, you know, a very small amount. You know, we knew a very small amount, and I remember defending it, and that's part of the reasons why. That's part of the reason why I cheer for Starfield. It's like, you don't seem to remember, right? You know, revisionist history and ignoring facts is common amongst people who attack others because it makes it easier to attack them. But people will just completely ignore the fact that, like, I was out here defending the game and excited about it. It was my most anticipated game. So, like, I'm literally sitting here telling you that I wanted to have a turnaround moment because it was one of the games I was looking forward to. I played Fallout 4 for like 110 hours. You know? The minute that's announced, you'll have a video titled "Told You So." I don't think so, actually. I don't think so. We've tried to move away from the "I told you so" thumbnails because it creates an air that we're not a huge fan of. I know that I've done "told you so's" before, and recently we did the Avowed called it, but I did that for Kirk. Kirk was the one that called that. I was like, give the dude his flowers. He said delay Avowed. That's the one to delay. We started speculating there might be a game delayed out of the fourth quarter. I won't have to say "I told you so" with Starfield. I won't have to. I'll just be like, Starfield. However you put that in text, right? I don't need to say "I told you so." I'll just chuckle about it. I'll be like, isn't this funny? Isn't this a funny development that this actually happened? And everybody that knew it was coming basically wouldn't tell you because they wanted to use it as an opportunity to at least ride some relevancy of taking the opposing position. It wouldn't surprise me at all that some of the loudest detractors on that, they know it's coming. And they're just capitalizing on the fact that, like, they can stoke the fires of the fan base and say that it's not happening. Starfield or Forza on the PlayStation Pro. PlayStation will get the best versions of those games. Zubitech now tweeting that rumor is Indiana Jones is delayed to Q1. The PS5 version's been in development, releasing 3 to 6 months later. I don't know why Zuby is saying that. Insider Gaming just did an article saying that Xbox has confirmed or reconfirmed or reaffirmed or whatever that Indiana Jones is still coming this year. So, yeah, where's this leak and rumor coming from about Indiana Jones? Because Insider Gaming just said that that's not the case. We looked at this in Morning Coffee. Yo, what's good, Doc Dark? How are you? Who told you it's coming? Which game are you talking about, Doc? Because you and I both know, Doc. They're all coming. Anyway, yeah, this article just yesterday. No, today. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is still launching in 2024. So I'm not sure where the rumor is coming from that this has been delayed because according to a preview event that took place this week, Xbox has said that the game is on track to launch in 2024. I have no idea. I have no idea why anybody is claiming that this has been delayed. They just said at a preview event that it's on track. That doesn't make any sense to me. Let me look at the Reddit that's claiming this, the Reddit thread. The source is 4chan. Get the frick out of here. Why are we even wasting? No, stop. Yeah, Reddit says it's false. Yeah, that's not true. Indiana Jones is on pace for this year. They wouldn't have a preview event like right now this week. I have a friend with super duper industry ties that said Xbox is going to release an Elite 2 controller on PS5 as well. Might as well at this point. I mean, listen, Doc, listen. We know Xbox likes to make controllers. You know, they should take a crack at the DualSense. I mean, you know. I mean, they sell more controllers than games, right? I mean, maybe that's what Phil Spencer said when he said one big game at quality every quarter. Maybe he meant to say one big game controller every quarter at quality. Maybe that's what he meant. Maybe we just didn't, maybe it's a comprehension problem, guys. Maybe we took Phil Spencer out of context when he said that. I think maybe we've misunderstood him all along. You know how we have a hard time with comprehension. Like when we saw the CFO comments about, games coming to platforms that were previously considered competitors. We got that one totally wrong. He was just talking about Activision Blizzard, except he wasn't. And it's pretty clear that he was talking about all of the games, as the CEO indicated later in the beginning of the year. But yeah, it could be a comprehension issue. It's really hard to understand, what these guys are saying sometimes. So it's possible that's what Phil Spencer meant. You know what I mean? How does it feel to be right? I know your haters are mad. Here's the secret, Doc. Here's the secret. My haters are always mad. That's why they're my haters, bro. They're like the tantrum throwing Hulk of the internet. You know what I'm saying? That's their secret. They're always mad. I don't want my controller to have to use batteries. Veilguard confirmed to be launching on the 31st. So have they officially announced that's their release date, October 31st? Dragon Age Veilguard will launch October 31st according to somewhat traditional AAA fall. Wait, but that's an article. Oh, okay, so did Forbes get the scoop on that? So let's see. October 31st is a Thursday? That's a Thursday. That's kind of a weird release date, isn't it? Why Thursday? I wonder if there's a fiscal reason for that. Does their fiscal calendar end then or something? Instead of doing it on the 1st of November? Or are they going to do something with... what the heck? That's a weird... Hang on a second. Let me think through this. All right, October 33rd. I mean, maybe they're trying to do something with Halloween. Why would a game company align their marketing with Halloween, though? Dragon Age Veilguard and Halloween? Like, it's not like a scary game. Doc says, I want to see Halo Infinite on PS5. Release it when Concord drops, and let's see. Why, Doc? You want to see them both flop? What, you want to... You ever see somebody do a three-legged race, where they tie their ankles together, and then, they're clumsy, and whoever they are, they both fall down? Is that something you want to see? Because, look, man, Concord... Concord's gonna flop, bro. What, you want Halo to come over and do the same? The Master Chief Collection has better shot on the PlayStation than frickin' Halo Infinite does. Yeah, Plucky Squire got its release date. Yeah, September 27th. September's jam-packed. September's jam-packed. Xbox releasing a controller on the PS5 only to give people more options. Right, Jack? Right? Some men just want to watch the world stumble and fall down. That's right. I don't know, man. I don't know about that, Doc. The reviews will be scary. Yeah. Oh, I don't know about Veilguard. Veilguard's going to probably be pretty mixed response, I think it's going to get pretty mixed reactions. I don't think it's going to score spectacularly, but I also don't think it's going to be, terrible. I think Veilguard's going to land in the high 70s, probably, Metacritic. Dr. Killshot with 22 months of membership says, congrats on 40K. Keep pushing the haters down. Just stay true to yourself. The best podcast on YouTube. I appreciate that, Dr. Killshot. Guys, take a quick second and smash that like button. We are talking about Forza Horizon 5 coming to PS5. That was the rumor. And that has been since said to not be the big game that will be announced next week. But we have had a notable insider claim that it is actually still coming, though. That Forza Horizon 5 will be coming to PS5. It is an imminent thing. But there's also apparently a big announcement next week at Jeff Keighley's opening night live. And I've been told that it's Indiana Jones. There's some other theories floating around about other games that would be announced as coming to PS5. It is interesting as well that Forza Horizon 5 is going to be part of one of Xbox's Gamescom showcases, I believe on Wednesday, which is interesting. Yeah, Eugene, Zuby already, somebody already put that Zuby tweet. Where's that coming from? It's coming from Reddit, and Reddit got it from 4chan. It's not true. It's not true. Tom Henderson literally reported today on Insider Gaming that there was a preview event this week for Indiana Jones where Xbox confirmed that Indiana Jones is on pace to release this year. So the 4chan rumor about it getting delayed, I think they're just trying to capitalize on all the smoke around, oh, there's a game, announcement coming to PS5 next week, and somebody on 4chan's just throwing something at the wall. It's not true. Like, Indiana Jones... I don't think you would hold a preview event in August and say, yep, it's on pace for this year if it wasn't. That would be really strange. The rumor would have more... The rumor would have more legs if, the preview event, they were like, we can't confirm a release date just yet. I'd be like, ooh, they're going to announce the release date at opening night live, is what we've been told. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will get its release date revealed at Gamescom opening night live. So, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 delayed to February. Gamescom plan revealed. Okay. Guys, do a quick double check and make sure it's saving your likes. We've had a ton of people here for most of the morning, and make sure you're hitting the like button. It does help out the video, and if you're lurking and listening and you enjoy the content on a regular basis, that's a really easy way to show that appreciation, and we appreciate you guys so much. And if you're one of the lucky ones that got a gifted membership, jump in our Discord, man. There's a lot going on in the Discord all the time. A lot going on in the Discord with town halls and people playing games together. So it's a great thing to do with your membership. What does your source say about what? My source said that it's Indiana Jones and that it'll be announced that night at with Keeley's opening night live event. That's what my source said. My source was like, yep, this is what I've heard. And I was like, okay. I don't know. I don't feel like Indiana Jones has been in development long enough to have a multi-plat release. I just don't feel like it. I feel like it's not Indiana Jones. It makes sense to me that it's Indiana Jones because of licensing and because of Disney, and we could have somebody misfiring. Like, I think there's reliable info out there somewhere that like Indiana Jones is headed to PS5, but I don't think it's the announcement next week. It doesn't feel like there's been enough time to develop that game multi-plat. Pete Hines said in the middle of 2021, okay, so just 3 years ago, he said the game was in very, very, very early development. He said very 3 times. That to me is really stressing, like, yeah, we just got started. I don't feel like 3 years is enough time. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm not confident in Indiana Jones's quality. I kept saying that I thought it was going to get delayed because I was like, that's not a long enough development window. 3 years? It's not a sequel. It's not that they could build off an existing game and engine, unless, of course, they just sort of, ham-fisted in a bunch of, Wolfenstein stuff that they were building, which is why it's first person. I mean, I don't know. That's such a small window of time for a licensed, major AAA release. Somebody released a video saying that Microsoft is going to purchase Take-Two or Epic with all the extra income. I mean, look, man, I think people are just resorting to fan fiction at this point. I mean, that... I mean, yeah, dude, Microsoft is going to... at this point, Microsoft should just buy Australia while they're at it, Just buy a country. Just start playing the game of Risk in real life, Just start buying everything, according to these guys out here. They're going to buy Warner Brothers, apparently. But then the truth came out that Warner Brothers was simply looking to sell out or license out their IP. They weren't looking to sell. So a bunch of people misfired on that one. They're like, well, Warner Brothers is looking to sell, and it's going forward. Oh, yeah, Microsoft is also going to buy Sega and also buy Capcom. They're also going to buy Square Enix. They're also going to buy Take-Two and Epic. They're also going to buy the president of Africa, and then they're also going to buy a little island off the coast of Australia, and then they're going to invade Australia and capture all the dingoes. Oh my gosh. It's just fan fiction at this point, dude. It's just fan fiction. You're just saying stuff, I don't like dead air as much as the next person, but good Lord, they're just making stuff up at this point. You got ABK and have almost nothing to show for it. What did ABK do for you other than get, Hi-Fi shut down and then repurchased by somebody else? Hi-Fi Studio, other studios shut down, and you don't have to buy Black Ops 6 if you've got Game Pass. Well, well done. I hope they buy a bunch of more studios so that you can spend less money. That's the real victory for gamers, guys, is dollar menu gaming and cutting out coupons. Like, oh yeah, I hope they buy more major corporations and developers, because really at the end of the day, all that matters is not that they bring something additive to the market and innovate and, create something new. Just bring something to market that was already coming to the market and give it to people who are unwilling to buy games. That's the real victory for gamers that we were all hoping for. Isn't it wonderful that Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard? Isn't that just been so great for the consumer as well as the studios? Isn't it awesome to have less things coming to market, less studios in the market, less property coming to the market so that you didn't have to buy Call of Duty? Let's all give a standing ovation to your bargain bin gaming habits so that, yeah, just go ahead, buy Take-Two, buy Epic, buy Steam, buy it all. That'll be great for all of us. So that then they can overextend their annual operating costs and just shutting down studios and canceling projects and either, I don't know, maybe raising prices or not. But then you won't have to buy more games. Your habits don't belong in the luxury market. They're antithetical to the luxury market. It's why Microsoft is basically saying, put the games everywhere. Put the games everywhere, because your habits are antithetical to the luxury market that gaming is. So what's Daddy Microsoft doing? He's actually saying, well, yeah, sure, we did all this, and yeah, you don't have to buy, Black Ops 6, but I mean, we're going to put the games everywhere because we're trying to make some money here. Like, so them buying more studios or them buying more developers or publishers wouldn't do anything. It would just be more destruction of the industry. You would just see more studios closed down. You'd see more projects canceled. But hey, you'd have to buy less games, and that's what really matters in gaming. That's my top priority. My top priority anytime I enter a luxury market is I want to spend as little money as possible. I disagree with your usage of luxury. You can be price conscientious about non-necessity purchases. Gaming isn't luxury fashion. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whether it's you want to call it luxury or non-necessity purchases, it's antithetical to the behavior of people that enter the marketplace. It's like if you're going to buy video games and look at the people that are spending money into the gaming industry, it's not people that are penny pinching and trying not to buy games. That plan has failed. If that plan was such a wonderful plan, then why is Microsoft seemingly going everywhere else they can to make money in the gaming industry? Like, if Game Pass was such a crack squad plan, well, then why on earth are they raising their prices and moving day and date to Ultimate? Why I think indie's on pace? History shows us that if a game is about to be shown at an expo or something and a delay is coming, they announce the delay weeks in advance. That's true. That's actually true, Eugene. They like to get the delay announcements out of the way. Yeah, I agree with that. How many people are stupid enough to buy games at full price? So when a consumer buys something at full price and you don't, they're stupid? Why are they stupid for buying something at full price? What's the problem with that? I'm curious why that makes them stupid. It's their money, it's their hobby. So you basically think the vast majority of the gaming consumers are stupid, is what you're saying. I mean, so basically, you're in the minority, but you're the smart one. Huh? What market looks at its most played games every year? FIFA, Madden, COD, Fortnite. People don't buy exclusives. People that buy exclusives are a very small percentage. That's why exclusives are bad. I mean, that's simply untrue. If you look at the exclusive franchises of both Nintendo and PlayStation, they have sold incredibly well. What you're doing is you're creating a false equivalency. You're basically saying that because these games are the most popular, that means nothing else can be popular. Like, what? Not a false equivalency, I'm sorry. It's a false dichotomy. Like, oh, so because FIFA, Madden, COD, and Fortnite are the most popular and the most engaged with, then these other games can't be popular. That's a false dichotomy. Those games can be insanely popular, and you can also have insanely successful, profitable franchises and exclusives. Nintendo and PlayStation are quite literally evidence of this. There's no evidence that exclusives are bad. That's an opinion, so that can't be objectively true. There's also no evidence that, like, exclusives aren't profitable and don't sell a lot. Like, all these people that are like, stop trying to make Horizon a thing. Stop ignoring sales charts. Like, Horizon is a thing. Horizon's been incredibly successful. It's one of their most successful franchises. Only Nintendo have exclusives? This is simply untrue. Just because a game comes to PC later doesn't mean it's not an exclusive. Like, that idea is so bizarre to me. So if something comes to PC later, it's not an exclusive. Those are still exclusive games. You have to buy PlayStation 5 to play those games. Not only that, there's second and third party exclusives that, I mean, may end up on PC later, but they're still exclusives, even if they're timed exclusives. If they're exclusives for a year, 2 years, 3 years, however long. So, like, you're not actually proving the point that, oh, well, if it comes to PC later, then exclusives are bad. No, that doesn't prove that point. Like, if a game comes to PC later, it's not like, oh yeah, it's no longer an exclusive. No, it's still exclusive to certain places. Like, you can't get it everywhere. It's not like it's on every single platform. They didn't put it on Nintendo. A lot of the times they don't even put it on old gen because they move it forward. If it's on PC, it's not an exclusive anymore. It's still an exclusive within the console world, though. There are consumers who only buy in the console realm. So it's exclusive to them. Exclusive is subjective, right? We have timed exclusives. We have platform exclusives. We have console exclusives. Like, you can have literally a game like everybody called Starfield an exclusive. It is literally an argument made by people who try to create extra moved goalposts to pretend that one platform's just as bad as the other. It's literally made in bad faith. Everybody referred to Starfield as an exclusive. The industry did. The commentary surrounding Starfield was, it's an exclusive game. It's an Xbox exclusive. Nobody said that Starfield wasn't an exclusive because it also landed on PC. This argument is only ever touted to try to claim that, well, yeah, PlayStation doesn't have exclusives either. And it's like, because they bring their games to PC later, that doesn't even make any sense. That's illogical. It's a goalpost shift by fanboys. It's not a logical position. Starfield is not an exclusive either. I understand what you're saying at a technical level, but nobody thinks that way. Nobody thinks that way. Everybody viewed Starfield as an exclusive. It was touted. It was bragged about. Xbox game, baby. Buy an Xbox. Those people are disingenuous. Nobody's being disingenuous when you call Starfield an exclusive. Nobody's being disingenuous. It's a new goalpost shift by coping fanboys is all it is. The only reason we're suddenly shifting the goalposts is because you don't have exclusives anymore on a platform in, like, I don't know, 5 years. Not going to be exclusives anymore. Everything's going to launch day and date everywhere as far as their signaling. Xbox seems to be signaling that that's their plan. So now all of a sudden, we're going to shift the goalposts and say, well, PlayStation doesn't have exclusives either because 3 or 4 years after the game comes out, it comes to PC. They're not even equivalent. They're not even equivalent. When Starfield was announced and people started talking about it and, how it was going to come to Xbox and, how, PlayStation was trying to, broker an exclusivity deal, nobody at the time said, well, it's not an exclusive. No one said that because everybody knows that's a disingenuous bad faith argument made by a coping fanboy. Nobody would say that. They're like, no, it's an exclusive. You've either got to go to Xbox or PC to get it. It's exclusive to how they handle their property. You can't get it on PlayStation. That makes it exclusive. If you limit the reach of something and you don't give it to a particular brand, that makes the game exclusive. It's like, no, it's just over here. You can only get it here. I mean, how long are you going to wait for some games like Ghost of Tsushima, coming to PC? How long did that take? Oh, well, it's not exclusive anymore. Oh, but for 4 years it was. Exclusives, the entire motivation for exclusives is to try to get people to buy into your hardware. And the minute Xbox started deprioritizing hardware, they were signaling that exclusives no longer served a purpose for them. And now that that's happened, that side of the aisle is trying to create a false equivalency to say, well, PlayStation doesn't have exclusives either. Really? Where can you play Spider-Man 2 right now? Oh, well, I'll wait. Okay, so your waiting is capitulation that it's an exclusive. You've conceded the point. If you're willing to wait, great, good for you. That's totally fine. I think that's really smart as a consumer to have a place where you game and you feel like you get the most value. Good for you. But you can't just create this weird ethereal reality where, well, because I say there's no exclusives because eventually it'll come over here. I mean, maybe. It does seem like all the biggest property is going to head to PC eventually, but you're still waiting. You're still conceding the fact that it is an exclusive. Nintendo's in its own category. They don't have hardware capable of running the games. I mean, true, but again, if Nintendo came out right now with a next-gen capable console, PlayStation wouldn't be putting their titles over there. They wouldn't. They're putting their titles on PC because PC is not in direct competition to what they're doing. It's seen as an additive platform. It seems like, yeah, we can put it over there. It's why you won't see first-party PlayStation exclusives ever land on Xbox. Because they're still considered exclusive, tentpole titles. Again, I'm telling you, this is why these conversations are so frustrating, because people have to concoct these convoluted arguments to cope with the fact that their brand isn't doing what they wanted it to do. So they try to do this, oh yeah, they're the same. And it's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. This happens every time we have these conversations. If you try to cover something in a factual way, you've got these chuckleheads that run false narratives. It's the same thing that happened when Xbox's CFO said, you're going to see a change in strategy. You're going to start seeing first-party properties showing up on platforms that were previously thought to be competitors. Everyone went, he's talking about Activision games. These people have comprehension problems. And then for months, every time I brought up the CFO situation, I had to hear from people that watched a podcast and said, oh no, he's talking about ABK games. Just a bunch of bad faith mental gymnastics driven by sycophantic fandom. It's not rooted in fact. So this idea that there aren't exclusives anymore. Why? Well, because a sample or a slice of the PlayStation library eventually ends up on PC. Okay, but that doesn't actually prove your point that there aren't exclusives anymore. It means that PlayStation's pivoting to a console exclusivity, I don't know what you would call it, a console exclusivity structure where it starts here and then eventually they'll put it over there to maximize profit. And as Herman Hull said, they're implementing that strategy hoping that those people will say, I'd really like to play the sequel. I know of at least 5 people who bought a PlayStation 5 because they didn't want to wait to play Ragnarok. They played God of War 2018 on PC, and they're like, I got to play Ragnarok, and they bought a PS5. Just in our little sampled community here, we know people that did that. So, and then what percentage of PlayStation 5 owners didn't even own a PS4? They're getting new user acquisition. So you have to understand, their strategy is not the same. It's not equal. Xbox is literally saying, we're going to employ a software strategy. We're going to start putting our games everywhere. PlayStation's strategy is completely different, and you know what? That's totally fine. But when you try to make them equal, all you're doing is muddying the waters, and no one can have clarity of thought and clear, bright lines of what's what. Sure, it's great for salt content. I guarantee you things I said today are going to end up in, watch Pony cope about the fact that games go to PC. I've celebrated games going to PC. I think it's awesome. I love the fact that Ghost of Tsushima went to PC and got great reception. I celebrated Horizon Forbidden West going to PC and being a very, very solid port. And I very much criticized Naughty Dog and PlayStation for the Last of Us port being handled so poorly. So no, none of this is cope. You have to have clear categorical lines of what's what. And the only reason we get down in these rabbit holes and these messes and these debates is because fanboys can't cope with the fact that their brand has changed. That's the facts. That's why they run narratives. It's like they're angry that everything they thought was going to happen this generation happened. And instead of doing what I did, I turned critical. I turned critical on Xbox the last couple of years because they didn't do what I thought they were going to do, and they didn't make good on their promises. That's the difference between me and them. I'm not going to try to run a false narrative and cope and defend some brand for doing something I don't like. It's why when Helldivers required the PSN login, I called it stupid, and I was critical of how Sony handled it. I don't care. I don't care if I get blacklisted and don't get codes from PlayStation because I've been critical of their marketing or their decisions or things they say or don't say. It doesn't matter to me. If they do something I don't like, I'm going to say it. And the situation with Xbox, it's like, well, they've completely changed strategy, so now we got to run with all these false narrative, bad faith, disingenuous, mental backflip nonsense where people are like, yeah, but I mean, there's no such thing as an exclusive anymore because a podcaster told me so. Street Shadow with a $5 super chat. Exclusives only became bad when Xbox stopped getting the deals they got in the 360 years. This argument is the definition of moving the goalpost. Yeah. Everybody went from celebrating Bethesda acquisitions going to lead to Bethesda games going exclusive. We've got the receipts. We've got the tweets. We've got the quotes from the podcast. Everybody thought Bethesda's ZeniMax. Yeah, baby. Phil Spencer said in this interview, this is all about giving you exclusives where Game Pass exists. Those games are going to be exclusives. To now, well, Doom was always going to be a multi-plat. Sure, Jan. Sure it was. We went from celebrating acquisitions as a means of getting exclusives to coping with the fact that it's actually triggering the exact opposite result to then, well, we got to cope with it somehow. So yeah, there's no such thing as exclusives anymore. Even PlayStation doesn't have exclusives. Oh, sure. Sure, Jan. If you're willing to wait and you're also willing to play them on PC. Yeah, the console market's headed for a crash as well. That's the new mantra. That's the new coping mechanism. Is that, yeah, the console market's dying and headed for a crash. Give me a frickin' break, man. Like I said, stop writing fan fiction and just speak plainly to people. Just shoot straight. Say what you really think. Right? Like, grow a pair and say what you really think. Quit all this fan fiction nonsense. It's going to run out of gas anyway. It's far more entertaining to watch somebody actually say what they think instead of this nonsense fan fiction. Oh, they're going to buy this or they're going to buy that or I heard this or I heard this in the third. It's like, oh, for Pete's sakes. Tom Henderson said, we're in the second round of Xbox gearing up with PlayStation ports, so I fully expect every game to be rumored again in the next couple of months. I mean, that's what that 4chan rumor is. I think that's what that 4chan rumor is. Oh, Indiana Jones has been delayed and it's coming to PS5. No, 4chan's throwing something at the wall because of the rumors about, oh, we're going to see the next round of Xbox games headed to PlayStation. For sure. Like, for sure. That's going to happen. And I think eventually there won't be rumors. There won't be which game is it. It'll just be standard affair. It wouldn't surprise me at all if like this time next year we're like headed to the Game Awards and no one even bats an eye. It's like, oh no, yeah, anytime they're announcing games now, they're mostly multi-plats. You know. You might get it on Xbox a year, 6 months, and then it goes everywhere else. But a lot of that's probably going to be related to development timelines, not necessarily like an exclusivity plan. Some of that's probably quite literally just because of development timelines. I don't even know. Like, I know the CFO originally said first, better, or best, but I think you're going to see way, way less first, better, or first. You'll see better. You'll see better or best, and they'll say, yeah, it's the best place to play it. It's on Game Pass. It's the better place to play it. It's on Game Pass. That's how they'll couch that. Xbox is the best place to play these games because, play it day one on Game Pass. Ultimate, asterisk, Ultimate, asterisk. It's got to be on Game Pass Ultimate. I do think it's all predictions as match. People just think something will likely or not likely happen, and either they turn out to be right or wrong. I think it's okay to be wrong in predictions. Oh no, but see, here's the difference though, Mash. Here's the difference. I'll make predictions. I'll say, if Microsoft is willing to spend this kind of money to buy Activision Blizzard, I predicted they're going to shift into a software strategy. I read between the lines. I said, Phil Spencer says this change happened because of Minecraft. Minecraft was the catalyst to Phil Spencer and Microsoft saying, it's time to start treating video games like software. Look how much money we can make with property like Minecraft, right? That's me making a prediction. That's not the same as, oh, I heard Microsoft's going to buy Warner Brothers. Oh, I heard Microsoft is going to buy Take-Two and Epic and Capcom and Sega. Like, that's not a prediction. That's them sort of doing this, oh, I heard a rumor, or, oh, this is happening. Because, again, it's fan fiction at this point. It's like, it's the only way to get a victory is to make one up. Eugene says, I think their idea best or better may be on Game Pass. Mother, yeah, I know, Eugene. Every time. Stream delay. Like, I think you have to make up victories. Why do you think this year we've consistently heard, instead of saying, where are the PlayStation games, where you know, PlayStation has no games, because they have to conveniently ignore all of the exclusives that PlayStation has received. They say, well, where are the first party games? Like, eventually it's gonna be like, well, where are the games where the main character wears sunglasses, huh? It's like, how many times, how far can you move the goalpost before you've left the stadium? Like, what's even happening? What do you mean, where are the first party games? I guess if that's the question we're going to ask, then you could ask the same question of Xbox, could you not? And you got Hellblade 2 this year, which got very middling response from the users, and I think is significantly inferior to the first game. Yeah, where are the devs from the game? Where are the games from the dev where they're an LLC incorporated in Delaware? Right, that'll be the next thing. You know, ignoring exclusivity. All of a sudden, like, that's the other thing that's funny to me is it's like, oh, there are no more exclusives. Well, you have to ignore exclusives or create up fancy goalposts to be like, you know, I guess Helldivers isn't an exclusive. Again, none of it's made in good faith. It's like you're only saying that because you're attempting to win some fight. It's like no one cares about that. Go to your friends who play video games on consoles, and they're like, oh man, that Helldivers 2 looks so cool. Do you think they're going to say, well, it's not really a PlayStation game? They're like, it's actually a multi-platform game because you can also play it on the PC. No, the average consumer is going to be like, yeah, that's a PlayStation exclusive. Stellar Blade's a PlayStation exclusive. Well, I heard the developers are considering a PC release in the future. You think the consumer gives any ounce of care about that? They don't care about that. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like, they don't care that eventually, maybe someday, those games might end up on PC. Nobody cares about that. Consumers always care about the now. What's driving right now? What's happening right now? This is why with game sales, right? Like, okay, a complete, you know, analogy here. Borderlands the movie is headed towards complete and utter commercial failure. How do we know this? Because its opening weekend sales were so incredibly low. Just like video games, right? You make X amount of sales or whatever during your first weekend or week, and you know things tend to slow down. And Helldivers 2 was one of the few times you saw an inverse sale curve. But generally speaking, it's like it's up here and then it steadily goes down. So that's all that matters. It's like, if it's an exclusive right now, that's all that matters. It's like, no, that's going to be what drives people. So when you're like, oh, exclusives don't exist because maybe, sort of, if we're lucky, all those games will come over to PC. That's got to be the most flimsy argumentation I've ever seen. That's a wet paper bag. It's like, what do you mean? Like, oh, so maybe eventually, if you're lucky, all these games will come. So then exclusives don't exist anymore. Okay, fine. I'm kind of to that point where Keanu Reeves is like, you know, if you want to say 2 + 2 = 5, you go right ahead. I almost want to be like, yeah, you're right. Exclusives don't exist anymore. You're right. I'm just going to play these non-exclusive exclusives over here on PlayStation 5 whenever they come out. Oh, that wasn't Tom Warren. That was Tom Henderson. Sorry, I misspoke. Yeah. Yeah, Tom Henderson's like, we're going to get a bunch of rumors about games coming, for sure. For sure. I don't think notable leakers and insiders and people that seemingly have information, I don't think that's what's happening. There are definitely going to be people on 4chan and Reddit doing that. 4chan's already attempted to do that with Indiana Jones, and I shot that down. I was like, no, that was just reported that Indiana Jones is still on pace. That was literally just reported. Helldivers 2 selling 8 million on PC. I find it hard to class that as an exclusive as it's playable on more than one platform. Cool, I don't care. I'll continue to play non-exclusive exclusives on my PlayStation 5. I don't care if you call it not an exclusive. That doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm done arguing with weird point tally keeping by fan fiction writing disingenuous argumentation. I just don't care. It's like, oh, fine, yeah, you're right. It's not an exclusive. To be fair, I wouldn't call 87 or 88 middling scores. That's fair pushback. That's fair pushback. That's my bias. I'm heavily biased against Hellblade 2. It does have good scores. That's fair. Didn't commercially go crazy on Steam, but the scores are good. That's fair. High 80s is a good score. I'll concede that. I'll concede that. I am very biased when it comes to Hellblade. I was incredibly disappointed by the sequel. So, middling scores is not a fair representation of that piece of property. You know, the first game has 61,000 reviews, and Hellblade 2 has... Why does it do that? If you go back and then try to go forward, it like won't let you back in the game on Steam. Yeah, I would say commercially I would say Hellblade 2 commercially didn't do very well though. It only has 4,000 total reviews on Steam. Its predecessor has 61,000. So I was incorrect to say middling, middling score. It doesn't have a middling score. It does have a good score on both Steam, Xbox, and the critics. Did it do well with Metacritic? Am I thinking about Metacritic? What am I thinking of? Or again, was it just totally my bias? Yeah, it got an 80 on Metacritic. Yeah. That was just my bias speaking. I'll own that. I was incredibly disappointed. It was my most anticipated game this year, and I thought it was just an utter disappointment. So, its scores are low 80s. No, it has an 88 on Xbox. It has an 87 on Steam, and it has an 80 on Metacritic. That's not middling. Middling would be like low 70s in my mind, not 80s. 80s, mid to high 80s is a good score. I would never call that middling. Just my bias and my experience of that game was just utter disappointment. So I was just, I said it got middling scores because in my mind, that's what it deserves. Got an 81 on open. Yeah. I don't know if we would call 80 or 81 middling. That's fair. I can concede when I misspeak or make a mistake, because that game I was heavily invested in, and I was I was extremely unhappy with how that game ended up. What score is middling? 79. It's a fine line, to be fair. I mean, it's a personal thing, but for me, I wouldn't say middling score until something's in like the mid to low 70s. And then I would say, yeah, that's a pretty lukewarm score. That's a pretty middling score. That's not great. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not great. I wouldn't even know if it was necessarily good. I'd say it's more in the mid. When somebody's like, oh, that game got a 74. Are you rushing to play that game? Probably not. That's a more like middling, more like, oh, that game sounds fine. It doesn't sound exceptional or great or good. It doesn't sound bad. It's more, kind of in the middle. Because in my mind, as soon as something drops into the 50s and 60s, like, who gives a frick? Are you playing a game with a 50 or a 60? No, you would be like, that's probably a pretty bad game. If all the review outlets weighed in and it got a 57, you're not like, well, at least it's not a 40. Like, you're like, oh, that's pretty bad. So once something lands in the 70s, to me, it's like, okay, it's not down there in the section where you, like, wouldn't even pay attention to it. Like, if something gets like a 67 or a 68, you're not like, well, maybe. No, you're like, yeah, that's probably a pretty bad game. That probably didn't do very well. Because if it's in there, that means A lot of the times if something like lands in the 60s, that means it's got scores that are lower than that. Like there are scores pulling it down and there are scores kind of pulling it up. That represents what I would think it to be a game not really worth playing in the 60s. No one's putting that on their marketing. Eugene says, I can't take the Hellblade 2 user scores very seriously because such a small sample and people highly predisposed to liking it. I mean, the reason I give it some due credit with its score on Xbox, Eugene, is because it was on Game Pass, and Game Pass actually typically drives a user score down. We saw that with Lies of P. Game Pass tends to drive the user score down because a bunch of people try the game who ordinarily wouldn't, you know. They ordinarily wouldn't play it, and so it tends to drive it down, and that is always going to be, you know, an issue when someone can play a game for 20 minutes and be like, this sucks, and then they bail and give it a bad score. First Descendant has a 55% on Steam. It has like an 81 on PlayStation, so I think they even came out and said that the bulk of their audience is console. There are some indies that I think are genuinely great, but because there are only 10 reviews, sometimes its Metacritic is dramatically dropped by a couple of harsh reviews. I mean, that's certainly true. That's why I always say the Steam user score is the best place to go, and I have to stay consistent. The Steam user score for Hellblade 2 is quite good. But again, I think Eugene is right to point out, as I kind of pointed out, it's like, does it really matter if the first game has 61,000 reviews on Steam and the sequel only has 4,000? Doesn't that seem like an awful lot of people didn't even buy or check out the second one or they just returned it? And according to TrueAchievements.com, nearly 90% of Hellblade 2 Xbox players didn't complete the story. So, you know what I'm saying? That game, oh yeah, it's got a great score. Yeah, a literal fraction of the people who bought the first one bought the second one. Like, that tells me everything I need to know. You go to any game and the sequel's got 60,000 reviews. I'm sorry. The first game's got 60,000 reviews and the sequel only has 4,000. Yeah, that's all I need to know. Great, thanks. Yeah, but the scores are good. That's all I need to know. That's a dramatic difference. And refunds don't count towards the Steam score. So it's like an awful lot of people who didn't buy the game and bought the first one. That's kind of crazy. Sounds like abysmal sales. Yeah, I don't think it did commercially well at all, which is obviously a concern. And I don't think bringing it to PlayStation is a good idea, personally. I don't think the PlayStation audience would like Hellblade 2. I really don't think that they would. All of the games that I have grown to like a lot on PlayStation, that PlayStation's kind of known for, and I played Hellblade 2 and I was like, this is just terrible. I was extremely disappointed. 60,000 reviews accumulated over years. Yeah, exactly, Conrad, which means you should have plenty of people vested in buying the sequel. You got 60,000 reviews on Steam, and you can't even get 10 or 15,000 reviews on your sequel? Are you kidding me? Thrifty says, one example you can use is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The game scored in the 90s and did not reach the commercial success of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Good and bad scores don't always lead to success or failure. Well, and Square Enix is obviously dealing with some things because they basically have said, like, didn't they release a report that, like, they're seeing a decline in sales for their property? It's that quite literally be because you keep going back to the same well. Like, you need to you need something new. Like, I really do think that. I think that they're learning that lesson of, like, man, you can only go back to this well so many times, man. You gotta do something new. Now, Rebirth could get nominated and win Game of the Year, and that might help it get a little bit of a bump, but I thought, didn't they just recently have some kind of an earnings report or something, and it didn't look that great. It was like, yeah, we're having a decline in our stuff selling. Rebirth was only sold on the PS5. Remake was sold on the PS4. Oh, well, that's a terrible comparison then. You sold Rebirth to a potential like 60 million more people. That's an awful comparison to compare the two. But I do think Square Enix, didn't they recently report that they're seeing a decline in sales or something? I'm a Square Enix ball watcher through and through, and even I can look and tell you that they're screwing up a lot of things. Yeah, and I think people are trying to claim it's because of those games were exclusive. It's like, it's not because they were exclusive. It's because they keep going back to the same thing. And I think there's only so many people that are going to be excited about something with Final Fantasy VII. Rebirth was supposed to go to PC back in May, and it still hasn't. Square doesn't release their games at a healthy pace, and they literally compete with themselves. FF71 was selling on PS4 at end of lifespan, so 110 million, and then during the Sickie. Also, they got re-releases. It sold 7 million in 4 years. Alas, sequels tend to do worse. Right, you can't keep going back to that same well. Like, I remember when they announced it, I also think it's confusing. From the outside looking in, if you're not some dyed-in-the-wool Final Fantasy fan, it's confusing. It's like, wait, you did Final Fantasy VII Remake, and this is called Rebirth? What the frick? What's the like, that to me, that's confusing. That's marketing confusion. If you're from outside of that ethos of games, you're like, wait, didn't you already do this? Like, I remember getting the names confused. Like, I cover the gaming industry, and I remember getting the names confused. I would say the wrong name, like Rebirth. Wait, no, Remake, Rebirth? Which one is it? Like, that's a terrible way to market and name your stuff. I don't know why you wouldn't have called it something else. Expecting Rebirth to reach the sales of Remake is dumb. I feel like they should have called it something else. Like, just having a similar name. It's like FF7R. It's like FF7 Remake and FF7 Rebirth. It's like, yeah, and then FF7 Crisis Core. It's like, Jiminy frickin' Christmas. It's like, of course you're going to see a decline in sales. You keep going back to the same game, and then the people are going to get confused and be like, I don't know. Didn't you guys already do that? Just do Final Fantasy VII Redux at this point, you know? Uno Yo Dai, welcome back. Thanks for renewing that membership. Rebirth has a lot of needless padding. Remake was exciting and new. I've never been a big Final Fantasy guy. I liked Final Fantasy 16, and I hope that, the PS5 Pro can give me better performance when I'm not in combat. Because I like performance mode, and I thought performance mode was an inconsistent pile, and the people that played it in quality mode, they had a perfectly fine time. But I can't do that, dude. It's the same guy that came with the Xbox name. Oh, I've always hated the way they name their stuff. Xbox One X, Xbox One S, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S. It's like, are you intentionally picking letters that sound the same, like phonetically? Like, what are you doing? The Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series Y, that would be like crystal clear what you're saying when you're like on the phone with somebody or you're calling to see if they have any in stock, It's like Series X. Did you say Series S? X. S? Huh? Like, it's like, why are we naming things like this? What are we doing here? That's why with the next one, I would just call it the Xbox. Just call it the Xbox and make it in the shape of like a cube. And then let me sideload Steam on it and connect this handheld to it like Jez says we're going to be able to do. Just do that. Just do that. Just make it a literal box. Rebirth's performance mode sucks, to be honest. The visuals really take a hit for 60. Yeah, I didn't play it. I've never been big on Final Fantasy. The only reason I got into Final Fantasy 16 is because I played the demo and I was like, okay, this is actually kind of hot. This guy said, Tom Warren just said Forza is not coming to Xbox. End of fake news. Unless he sent a brand new tweet, the irony is you're actually spreading fake news. Tom Warren did not say that. No, he did not say that. He said that the announcement next week is not Forza. It always comes back to this. I remember when we watched the Xbox podcast, and I remember telling people it's about what they don't say. It's always about what they don't say. When Jez Corden is like, my sources say that Forza coming to PlayStation will not be announced next week, that is not saying that it's not happening. I can't believe we're here all over again. That clip that was circulating, where you got guys claiming that the CFO was talking about the ABK games and all these people don't understand context and have comprehension problems when, surprise, surprise, they were the ones with the comprehension problem. That same clip says, oh, this article drops and it just kills the whole thing. Do you know what article they're referring to? The article that they all took hook, line, and sinker, where Phil Spencer quite creatively said, we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo. And they just gobbled that up. They fell for it. You want to tell the world you're a sucker? Well, then just go back and watch that clip. It's like, you're a sucker. You fell for it. Phil Spencer conveniently avoided the question. The question wasn't even asked of him. Hey, are you guys going to be putting first-party property on competing consoles? It was, we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo. And at the time, I always said, it's always about what Phil doesn't say. And everybody ran with that headline, and they're like, yeah, see, Xbox isn't doing this. How do you feel now? Genuine question. How do you feel now? I would feel like a sucker if I fell for that headline and that song and dance. I'd feel like a sucker. And a 10 bomb from Uno. Thank you so much, Uno, for 10 gifted members, taking us up to 266. Yeah, we'll do questions here in a moment. Yeah, I don't even think Jez is trying to say that Forza will never come. He is being specific in his reporting, and he is being careful in his reporting. I think he knows that, like, I'm not going to rule this out, but that's not what's getting announced next week. Like, that's careful reporting. It's like, okay, because I think even he knows at this point, everything's fair game. So I'm not going to go out here and be like, oh no, there's no way that Forza's going. He already learned his lesson with that, right? He came in and we had a back and forth about that when he said, oh no, the games aren't going. You know, this is just hopium. He said he was just being belligerent. You know, he's like, yeah, I just drink and I tweet and I get belligerent. And I was like, okay, I kind of laughed. I was like, I'll take that. I think that that's funny. He knows that when he writes for Windows Central, it's very different than just like tweeting and being like, you know, what would we say? I don't want to say careless. When he tweets, he might be a little bit more free with what he says. But when he writes an article, he's going to be careful. And he's going to say, listen, this is not being announced next week. But he's not saying it's not happening. He's being more careful. It's very different. Like, he said that. I'm not putting words in his mouth. He said that day in my chat. That, like, he views Twitter differently than when he's, like, writing an article. And I actually think you can see that. When you go read his articles, they're well written, they're well structured. I've sourced him many times and given him credit and been like, he's one of the only reasons we knew well before the FTC case that Xbox was taking Series X's and using them for the cloud. And that's why you couldn't buy Series X's. Like, he was one of the first people to report on that. Because I feel like he's more careful when he writes an article than when he tweets. And Tom Warren literally did not say it's not coming. This guy's like, Tom Warren just said Forza is not coming to Xbox. End of the fake news. I said, he quite literally didn't say that. He said it isn't the announcement next week. Talk about fake news while misquoting a person. Like, Tom Warren didn't say it's not coming. He just said, yeah, that's not the announcement next week. How many times are we going to put that Tom Henderson tweet in the Discord? That's like the third time. We're in the second round of Xbox gearing up. You guys need to scroll up a little bit. Zero the 9 says, thanks to you, Lono, I did not waste my hard-earned money on the Xbox Series X. You are saving money and changing lives. Oh, stop it. I'm not changing lives. And I've not told anybody to not buy a Series X. I've simply relayed to you my experience with it. And if that's informed your decision, then great. I've had people watch my covers and say, you know what? I'm going to get into PC. And I'm like, do it. I hope you have a ball. I don't care where you play. I'm just going to tell you what my experience has been, and I own all the platforms. Wherever you end up, I don't care. Doesn't bother me one bit, you know. Doesn't do anything. I don't get a kickback. And it's not like, hey, I'm going to get a PC and get on Steam. I don't get a kickback from that. Do it. You know, make an informed decision as a consumer. I've said many times, I actually respect the people that are like, I'm going to go to PC. I like Steam. I like that I don't have to pay for online. There's more games on Steam, especially indies, and I'm happy to wait for PlayStation ports. I have respect for that. I'm like, okay. What I don't have respect for is the people like, well, there aren't exclusives anymore, and PlayStation doesn't have an exclusives, and there's no reason to buy a PlayStation. It's like, you can conclude that this is the best place for you to land, but you don't need to do that while saying things that are just fundamentally false. Watching Lono made me get them all, just go where the games are. Yeah, and I know people that have done that. They're like, well, I'm going to get everything because I kind of want it all. I have to say, though, that if we can't start getting 60 FPS releases on the Series X from first-party games like Indiana Jones and Avowed, oh, buddy. Like, it's like, that's happened twice now. Starfield and Hellblade 2. Two Xbox titles that I was actually looking forward to, and I ended up playing them on PC. When you started the new PC fund, Zubair had a brilliant idea. I love this idea. Right now, we're trying to get, you know, we've got the long plan to get 1,000 people at Member Plus and above. I want 1,000 people paying for their own memberships. That's like my big goal for the channel. Because gifting members has been phenomenal. It's super generous, but we end up always cycling the same people through on gifted, and I want to start to see people say, hey, I want to get involved here, and then it makes room so that new people get to experience a gifted membership instead of it being largely the same core group of people. We want to start to see new members of the community get that opportunity to get a gifted. So right now we're trying to get 500 people at Member Plus and above. And Zubair said, if we get to that 1,000 mark, he's like, Lono has to build his own PC and stream it. And I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. Because, I mean, everybody thinks I'm going to have like a really hard time and not know how to do it when it's not that complicated and it's not that hard. I just don't like to do stuff like that. I don't like to fiddle around with hardware. Will Broke Boy Lewis with $10 super chat says, I just realized a few weeks ago Steam actually has an app for my TV so I can play them on the same TV as my console. I know not the same specs as my PC, but convenient. Zubair says he's going to burn down his house somehow. So you now have a very good vested interest in upgrading to Member Plus or VIP. Either upgrade counts. Member Plus and above, you have a reason. We'll do like Saturday celebration streams the whole way there. Every time we hit a milestone, I'll do that. What's Tom Warren saying about Microsoft is now in the handheld gaming PC race? Valve is getting ready to capitalize on its Steam OS work in a move that could tempt PC makers away from Windows. I discussed Microsoft's handheld gaming work in Notepad this week, live for subs. Huh. I don't like paying for something like that because I don't know if he's actually got info or is he going to be doing speculative. Is he going to be speculative? You know? Does he actually have intel on the next thing, because Jez said there's an Xbox handheld coming, and he's not the only person that said that. Yo, what's on the horizon? I see what you did there, Donnie. Here, let's do some members only Q&A. Let me clear the question queue. There we go. If you guys are a member, you can now submit a question and I'll have it pop up on the screen. We'll do this for about, 20 to 30 minutes or so. It's a great time to gift members. It's a great time to become a member. You guys are falling behind pace for community game night. So Friday night, my wife and I stream no matter what, and we hang out with y'all, and we turn it into a community game night when you hit the weekly goal. You guys are going to have a really, really tough time hitting that tomorrow. You've done it before, but you want to split it between the days. That's typically what we do, and that's just a great way to grow the community, support the channel, and then we end up celebrating with the community game night. I try to give back as much as I can to members. I do morning coffee every morning of the week. We start the day with members. I end the day with members with the writer's room, and then I also do a Friday night stream with you guys. So members get literally as much content typically as we upload and do live streams publicly. It's pretty even split. So it's well worth being a member here. You basically get access to it's almost like getting access to a second channel with the amount of content we do for members. Valve is making moves. If Microsoft is going all screens and handheld, then they are going to be in a race instead of the innovator. That's how I took it. Okay. Nitro Fusion jumps back into 13 months. Glad to be here and enjoyed today's show. I have a Friday night recommendation for a game called Firewatch. Firewatch? I feel like I have that wish listed. Why do I feel like I have that wish list? Wait, why would this be a Friday night game? Isn't this a survival game? How would I play this with Madam? It's a single-player first-person mystery set in Wyoming in the wilderness. I don't know if that would work. And a 20 bomb from MASH! This guy has been just absolutely carrying the member count. Somebody has got to help him. Somebody's got to step up and jump in the ring. We need some 5 bombs, 10 bombs, or some singles to help out this man MASH, dude. He's had help. He's had help the last couple of weeks from some big boys. We got to spread it around. It can't all be on MASH's shoulders. This guy is a monster. Gifting members right now is a great way to expose people, though, to Q&A. The Q&A. It's a great way to expose them to it. They get to submit questions. They get to be a part of what we do here. And we'll see if Lido, you are going to have to resubmit your question. You're going to have to resubmit your question because you both can't claim the Q2 spot. So, sorry, Lido. Kelswiss beat you. Guys, anytime you submit a question, before you hit send, select all and copy it because you might have to resubmit. Nightbot is only so fast. Nightbot's only so fast. And a 50 bomb from Behemoth! He's named Behemoth for a reason. Unbelievable. This man just takes us well past 300. I was going to owe you guys 5. I now owe you, what would that be? I would owe you 10. Unbelievable. Hang on. I can't type. There we go. 336. 50 bomb from Behemoth. If you guys get a membership, you can celebrate right now by taking part in members only Q&A, and your question can pop up on stream just like this. Release the Kraken says, is Spider-Man 2 on PC? Someone in chat keeps saying that it is, and I can't find it on any storefront or see a release date for it. What do you mean? You can get Spider-Man 1, you can get Spider-Man Miles Morales, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was apparently on Steam a long time ago, but not Spider-Man 2 from PlayStation. I wonder if they were talking about that. They might have been talking about like an older game, like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was on Steam and it's not there anymore. Spider-Man 2, the PlayStation exclusive, is not on Steam. So when I said that earlier, that's what I was saying. People were like, well, it's not an exclusive. And it's like, can you play Spider-Man 2 right now? Well, no. Okay, well, eventually playing it doesn't mean that it's not an exclusive. I even think saying console exclusive is fair. Like I've said for the longest time, Starfield is an exclusive right now. It is. Just because you can play it on PC doesn't mean it's not an exclusive. I find that argumentation to be made up and disingenuous. People are only making that because they're trying to win some fanboy slap fight on Twitter. For all this time, you can't be saying that like Starfield is a exclusive and it's a big win for whatever, for it's a big win for Xbox, it's a big win for this. He says yes it is. No, it's not. You cannot. Spider-Man 2 is not on PC. What are you talking about? He says search it right now. No, it's not there. What are you even... I don't understand what you're on about. Spider-Man 2 is not on Steam. What do you think they ghost dropped it and nobody covered that? Can I go to the store and buy Spider-Man 2 on PC? No, it's not in the Steam storefront. You can't buy it. I don't know what that guy's on about. And a 20 bomb from MASH, now tag teaming with Behemoth. And he takes us to 356. He's like, listen, we're having community game night no matter what. I now owe you 15 members. He's talking about illegally. He's talking about a modded, hacked version like Wolverine. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Why do people like you even talk? I don't get it. You just say stuff. It's like, why are you even wasting time? It's not available on Steam. That was the point. Being able to play a dev build is not the game being officially on PC. Like, come on. Jiminy Christmas. Well, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as exclusives because I can play a leaked, hacked version that's not been officially released. Shut up. Jiminy Christmas. Oh my gosh. Kelsis says, can we choose your PC parts or will you be asking someone more experienced for your PC build stream? Also, I'd recommend an electric screwdriver. My wrists hurt using basic screwdrivers. Listen, you guys have got a long ways to go. A lot of people need to upgrade to Member Plus if you want to see that happen. All right? You're getting ahead of yourself, Kel Swiss. We'll figure that out when we get there, okay? He's been promoting the Spider-Man 2 unofficial port for a while, pretending he's winning points in chat. I just... Listen, I'm just going to start telling people, you know what? You're right. You're right. There are no more exclusives anymore. You can play every single PlayStation title on PC. You're right. You can live in that purple crayon drawn fantasy land. If that's where you want to live and that makes you happy, you can live there. I'm over here in reality where that's not true, but I don't care if you want to believe that, right? If you want to believe that the moon is made out of Swiss cheese and, you can fly, I just go ahead and believe that. I just don't care anymore. Sure. You're right. There's no such thing as exclusives anymore. Xbox is in first place. PlayStation's failing. The console world's dying. Yeah, if you go, sure, you're right. Yep. All those things are true in your brain, and that's the only place that they're true. But go for it. Citizen JV, with new rumors circulating with more Xbox games coming to PlayStation, do you think that Gears of War Collection or Halo Master Chief Collection could be one of the announcements? Yeah, I mean, I've said for a while that I felt like that's why the Gears of War Collection kept getting leaked and talked about. And I think that maybe is why it didn't show up. Maybe they pumped the brakes on it and they think that it'd be good, to have it be a multi-plat release when it comes. That could be a great runway because I think the next Gears game will probably be a multi-plat release when it comes out. So, EA has officially announced that Veilguard is coming on October 31st. You can pre-order right now. It's weird. That's a weird release date. I'm just going to say it. A Thursday is a weird release date. I mean, I guess if they want to capitalize on Halloween, that doesn't feel like a good convergence of marketing, though. Halloween and Veilguard and Dragon Age? I don't know. What do I owe you guys? I owe you guys 15 members. Let me do that in just a second. Delta Boss, if everything plays out, what do you think is inevitably the fate of PS5 and Xbox? I mean, the fate, I don't think it's like a dire situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do a 10 bomb, and then I'll owe you 10 more if we get to 375. We still might have some bangers in the tank. So I'm just going to do 10 for now. I'll do 5 at the end if we stay here, but we'll see. We might have some bangers in chat still ready to drop some members. So there's my 10 bomb that I owe you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like, oh, what's the fate? I don't think it's like dire. Like I don't think that Xbox is headed to like, oh, they're going away or this is bad. I think that a lot of the times I think is how this gets twisted and why people get so defensive and deluded, and they live in like a fantasy land of like, oh, I've got to cope somehow, so you know, I'll make up new goalposts and measurements of like why Xbox is winning, right? Or why there's no such thing as exclusives anymore. You know, that seemingly happened just all of a sudden, and conveniently only when your brand decides to stop doing it. So I think that Xbox is just going to more firmly look like this sort of branch. I think Microsoft is going to turn Xbox into like sort of like a gaming branch of what they do. So they're going to sort of treat it as like, okay, we've got this ecosystem of games, and you can interact with those games on your television, on your phone, on your tablet. We've got mobile games. You know, I think they're going to use their Surface team and potentially even use some of their, when they do like their expos and stuff, and they talk about like their hardware and stuff, I think you're going to see them push their handheld. And that could be a potential avenue of like just continuing to tell more people that, yeah, we've got gaming, we've got these gaming things you can do. And I think they're just going to more and more look like the combination of like an ecosystem and a publisher. And I only think that's upsetting to people who were in denial about it for such a long time. And instead of, the reason I think folks like me can just speak about it so matter-of-factly is like I've already gone through the rage and the frustration and the disappointment. I went through it for the last 2 years. I went from primarily being an Xbox guy to primarily playing on PC because I played Destiny and I wanted 60 frames per second. And then when the Series X came out, I felt like I was kind of returning home. It's like, oh yes, I can main a console again. And the Series X has given me literally every reason to not turn it on. So, you know, getting there and getting to that level of disappointment is one of the reasons why for the last 2 years I've been labeled as a pony by people who can't admit what's happening. They're just in denial. And a lot of them were very dishonest and misrepresented me and twisted a lot of what I said and tried to malign me and attack me and turn their audiences against me. And I think that displays their character. I think that displays the type of person that they are. It's like, instead of just making it about the facts and making it about what was happening, it got personal. Well, I think it's because for them it was personal. I think it was this, you know, their brand was failing them and they had hitched their wagon so firmly to the brand. They were like, well, what am I going to do? You know, well, the only thing you can do at that point is tribe up even more. You got to tribe up as hard as you can and really get people to think everything's fine. People like that are lying. Reforge Gaming is a shill and a grifter and a pony. Like, they basically just go through the laundry list of like internet dirty word names, because it's like, well, that's the only answer, right? We got to besmirch somebody who's making it clear that this is not going the way that we said it was going to go. Like, how do you maintain an audience at that point? if you've continued to tell them, nope, these things aren't going to happen. Nope, the CFO is talking about ABK games. Nope, those ponies are coping. Nope, that's not happening. And then it all starts happening. Well, what do? You're just going to have to turn villainous. And then I guarantee you're going to see thumbnails in the coming week, and you're going to hear the word port begging and port beggar. You're going to hear it a bunch. It's very easy to predict the behavior. That's what's going to happen. The only response to this is to be malicious and to name call and to throw around port begging and port beggar. That's what this will turn into, guaranteed. Catwalk gifts a member. Thank you so much, and bumps the line to 357. And a $5 super chat from Delta Boss. Fate is a bad choice of words. I imagine Xbox will still be in the market in some way, but not in the same category as PlayStation. I don't find any of this like, oh my gosh, sky is falling. I just think Xbox is going to continue to evolve into something that they never said they were going to do. If you go back and look at the marketing for Project Scarlet and for the Xbox Series X, what they're doing right now is the total opposite. And instead of people that were huge fans of Xbox and they run their podcasts and they bleed green, instead of them just being honest about the fact that everything has fundamentally changed on Xbox's side of things, instead it's got to be turned into this, I don't know what. Like I said, it's like fan fiction. It's either they're just going to keep, excuse me, it's either going to be they're just going to keep buying up studios and publishers because that's the only victory you can throw around right now, since they're not doing anything additive or innovative. They're not bringing anything new to the market. The only thing they're bringing to the market is stuff that was already coming. They just bought it. So, like, then that's your only avenue of, like, yeah, they've got more stuff. So that's fan fiction. Oh, they're going to buy Capcom. They're going to buy Sega. They're going to buy Warner Brothers. They're going to buy Epic. They're going to buy Take-Two. That's all fan fiction. That's not happening. Or the other fan fiction is, this is the way the industry's going. The industry's headed to collapse. Consoles are going to die. Exclusives are not a thing anymore. Exclusives are bad. So it's basically like a choose your own adventure. They're just choosing whatever fan fiction makes them feel or their audience feel the most comfort, while everything is falling down around them. It's like everything they thought, everything they said wouldn't happen is happening. Well, the only way you justify that or make that seem like it's okay is you write fan fiction. You're like, well, they're just going to keep buying up studios and that's how they're going to win. Or, oh, this is just where the industry is headed. It's just fan fiction. It's just fan fiction. Dirty wordy names is my new phrase. Yeah, dirty wordy. Yeah, dirty word. Lido, for the 1,000-member celebration PC build video, will you do it a la Henry Cavill with a tank top? Sure. I have a tank top that I wore for the Just Dance streams. So, listen, you guys are going to have to get to work, though. You guys have got a ways to go. A lot of people are going to have to bump up to Member Plus and above. All right? If you want this thing to happen. All right? Because currently you have 496 people at Member Plus and above. You have to double that. You guys are getting way ahead of yourself. Will Broke Boy Lewis says, so you think Xbox may take the approach that PlayStation does for PC, make it exclusive for a year or so, and then during that time work on the PlayStation port? No. I think that they're going to do that with some of the titles, but I think a lot of the titles are just going to be like Doom, The Dark Ages. I think they're just going to land at the same exact time, day and date everywhere they can put it. Yeah. I think Blade will probably release that way. Anything that's got enough time in the pipeline to hit PlayStation the same day it comes out, I think you're going to see that become more normal, yes. If you aren't pushing hardware, you don't need a timed exclusive. Yeah, you want to sell software. Remember what we said about like the Borderlands movie and how you make most of your money and most of your sales during those first couple of weeks? If that's true, then Microsoft is well aware of that, and they know it would be far better for property to land everywhere at the exact same time. This is how you know that like PlayStation's strategy is completely different. They see PC as an additive thing for later. They're not saying, "Oh yeah, we want games to be on every platform, and we want parallel development." They're quite like PlayStation is quite literally on record saying they don't want to do parallel development. They would prioritize parallel development and they'd be hiring for it and they'd be restructuring their studios if they wanted to do that. If they wanted to say, when, Spider-Man 3 comes out, we want it to hit PC and PlayStation day and date. Now, Insomniac's roadmap made it seem like that might happen, but that also seemed like they were going to be baking in a multiplayer component. I think PlayStation's reevaluating their live service plans, and that might not happen. And we also know those roadmaps at Insomniac were not in stone because they were all different. None of them agreed with each other. So that could have been a pure speculative idea of like, well, if we're going to start incorporating online, then Spider-Man 3 would fall under live service strategy at PlayStation, and live service strategy dictates that it lands on PC and PlayStation at the same time, like Concord and like Helldivers 2. Can you update to Member Plus if you have it gifted? I'm on iPhone. iPhone is a huge pain in the butt to do it. You can do it, Crowquill, but you have to do it through a browser. The iPhone app doesn't let you do it because Apple wants a cut. So YouTube has it like disabled in the app. You'd have to do it through a browser. Dubear says they want to make jerks like me buy a PS5 and a PS5 Pro. That's the other thing I think people keep forgetting in this strategy is that if the PS5 Pro hits and can start bragging about performance thresholds that we're hearing, I think that will be compelling to people to be like, well, there's no reason to wait. If you can play a game with like 1440 60 and ray tracing or 4K 60 because of how their proprietary upsampling technology works, upscaling. If that ends up working, there will be a lot of people that'll be like, well, there's no reason to wait then. I'll just get a PS5 Pro. Like, I'll just get that for $600. Because, I mean, it's a meme, right? You always see the meme where the guy's like, PC can hit X number of power more than the console. It's like, can your PC do that? A lot of the people that are out here that wage war and make all these statements about PC being so superior, they're not actually running a rig that's even stronger. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the data reports. We've looked at that before. If you look at the hardware reports, the vast majority of people who are buying games on Steam, how many of them are on laptops that can run Among Us, right? Like, you're not dealing with this. The people that have the absolute best hardware and have the absolute strongest rigs, they're a small percentage of the entire gaming world, right? They're a percentage of the people who engage on Steam. Everybody else is a potential customer. It's like, I'm not saying they are a customer. I'm saying they're a potential customer. Anybody else? If you're on an older video card, if you're on like a 1080 or like a 1600 series card, even right now, if you're on like a 2080 series, like me, the PS5 Pro, I think it's gonna be pretty compelling to somebody like that. They're gonna be like, oh, if they don't care about, path tracing and turning everything all the way up and getting a 40 series card, like those consumers are very specific. Everybody that's at like a 20 series card and down, they're going to be considering whether or not it's time to upgrade their PC and get new hardware, or they're going to be looking at a PS5 Pro for $600. And if what we're hearing from all of the dev kits, if that's all true, I think that makes them a potential customer. I can play all those PlayStation 5 exclusive games instead of waiting for them. I can play them when they come out, and I can also play them at performance levels that I'm not currently getting. You see, so it's like, and I think that's upsetting for people because they think everyone's like them. They're like, well, I'm PC Master Race and you console people are peasants. And it's like, okay, that's your outlook on the world, and I guess that's fine if you want to think that, but the rest of the PC user base isn't like that. They're not thinking that entrenched. Like, my nephews have a gaming rig, right? And they play games on it, but they also have Switches and a PS5 and an Xbox, okay? And if they see commercials for like a PS5 Pro and they see, you know, this crazy performance, they're going to know that their gaming rig isn't going to be able to do that because their gaming rig is a couple of years old. It was like a pre-built they got on like Amazon. It's a nice little rig, but it's not a monster. And so I think that you're going to have a lot of consumers that like that they don't feel like some entrenched, you know, loyalty to PC. You're seeing that right now with Xbox users that are like, well, I'm going to go to PC or I'm going to go to PlayStation. And I think it's because eventually the loyalty wears thin because there's reasons to leave. And there are great reasons to stay on PC and Steam. There are. But I think you will find consumers that find reasons to leave. Or they would view PS5 Pro as like additive to their experience. They're like, well, I have a really great Steam library and I have a lot of more like, you know, AA and indie titles. But, you know, the PS5 Pro is going to be kind of additive to my experience because, you know, I'll be able to play the Ghost of Tsushima 2 and I'll be able to play it at 4K 60 because of what the Pro's doing with upsampling or upscaling. Like, I think that turns them into a potential customer. I'm not switching because of my Steam library. I'm not moving over. Right. But somebody in your situation would either upgrade their PC, Brandon, or they might view the PS5 Pro as additive. It just depends on the person. There are people right now I know personally that have really good rigs and they bought a PS5 and they saw it as like an additive purchase. They're like, yeah, I'll play some of those games over there. I didn't want to wait on Spider-Man 2 or I didn't want to wait on Ragnarok. You know, we've got people in this community that have quite literally said that. So I think you have to understand that everybody's different. Every consumer has like a different value structure as to why they purchase things and what they decide they want to do. Ghost of Tsushima 2, for that you better wait for the PS6. Oh no, I think that's coming out. I think we're going to see Ghost of Tsushima 2 next year, personally. All right, last question from Lone Wolf. How strong is your feeling that Veilguard is going to be in the 70s with the critics? I might want to take a bet about it. Also, it's officially confirmed to be coming out on Halloween. Based on what I've seen of the combat, I just don't think it's going to land that strongly. I think the combat looks... Skill Up once described Biomutant as like punching a pillow. I really think that the combat looks very non-impactful. And I think not being able to control the other characters is going to be met with some criticism. I think some of the art style choices and some of the movement and stuff, I don't think it's going to land that strong. I will gladly be wrong because I actually think it looks fun, but I don't think it's going to land very strong. It looks that one gameplay showcase they gave us, I was like, if this is what you think is going to blow everybody away, I saw a lot of problems with it. I did. It didn't seem that strong. It seemed very... There was a lot about it that seemed inconsequential. It seemed very arcade-ish. Yeah, I don't know. So... But it's BioWare. Yeah, and BioWare is obviously, you know, not... It doesn't have everybody's confidence right now, and I think there's probably good reason for that. To be fair, it was literally the opening of the game. Yeah. How many openings do you feel are weak in video games? I'm not talking about him having a lack of abilities. I think that's fair. It's like the tutorial. But when I played through like the opening of like God of War or Horizon or Ghost of Tsushima, I don't know. I didn't think everything could be excused as, oh, it's just the opening of the game. The movement looked really not great, and the combat looked really non-impactful. So combat's actually fun this time. All right, I'm going to set up Writer's Room. If you guys want to make a mad dash to 375 to make things a little bit easier on yourself tomorrow, if you guys are going to try and hit 500 on the week, All members get to come to Writer's Room, so you get to bring more people with us if you do that. Those mad dashes at the end. Right now, the viewership has dropped because we're near the end, and so most of those gifted members do go to more loyal viewers, so it's a great time to do a mad dash scramble, and then I'll obviously gift what I owe you. Currently, I owe you 5, but if you guys make that mad dash, I'll owe you a little bit more, and I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that. I'm scheduling the Writer's Room right now. And Mash and Behemoth went absolutely crazy today. Thank you again to those fine gentlemen for doing that. Appreciate that. And everybody who's been upgrading to Member Plus, also thank you for doing that. We greatly appreciate that show of support for what we do here on the channel. There we go. Set that up. All right. It looked like their tone change this time around, though. What, like, is the new you think the new trailer is different? Like, it has like a different tone and a different vibe? And Kat says, I'll help with the mad dash, and she drops a 10 bomb and takes us to 367 and then 368 because Patrick throws one on and helps out as well. There it is, just like that. Well within reach, and a 5 bomb from Siege Master says this is light work for us and takes us to 373. Thank you so much, Siege Master. It's green now, so it's the release date trailer. I'm not going to turn the sound on. I like to look at these sometimes without sound. Yeah? Game engine footage with some custom camera angles. Okay, so I can already see thematically that you're not wrong, that they are maybe going for a little bit of a darker tone. Yeah, but this isn't going to change my mind if it's just a bunch of cinematics. And a 5 bomb from Brandon secures it. Is there any gameplay in this? Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the art direction is necessarily the problem. I think the art direction and the bosses and the enemies actually looked pretty cool. I think the characters look pretty cool, but it does have a feel. It does have a little bit of an arcadey feel. And a 5 bomb from Brandon. Bro is so impatient. I'm looking for gameplay. I don't care about your cinematics at this point. It takes us to 378. There it is. I owe you 10. 22 away from 400. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, I don't care about cinematics at this point. You showed lengthy gameplay, and it looked kind of thin and kind of non-impactful, you know? Thanks for the gifted sub, whoever it was. Random YouTube notification out of nowhere. If you guys got a gifted membership, you get to come to morning coffee. Every day I start the mornings with the members. We do Writer's Room. We're going to go to Writer's Room in a little bit. Friday night is a members-only stream where my wife and I hang out. And when you hit the goal, Friday night turns into community game night. Now, we are trying to get people to bump up from a gifted membership to Member Plus, and we have a goal for that. I'll do like a Saturday stream and hang out with you guys. I know a lot of you can't make it to Friday nights because of schedule conflicts, so that's why we're doing that. And every milestone along the way, we will do that. And Zubair had the great idea that if we get 1,000 people, we're halfway there right now, roughly. If we do that, I got to build a PC on stream, and we are currently at 496. And I will pay for that PC. I'm not. That's not part of the deal. Part of the deal is if you hit the goal, then I have to go upgrade the PC and stream it. I'm not asking you guys to pay for the PC. That's not what we're doing with that. It's not looking like top tier in graphics, but as long as the game is fun, I can look past the subpar graphics. Purple Haze jumps in as a brand new member and says, I'll help out with that weekly goal. Thank you so much. If you guys sign up for a membership like that and you end up enjoying your stay, make sure and pick Member Plus because that does differentiate you from the gifteds. That's the only way I can do it, and that's why we have that Member Plus goal. But I appreciate that, Purple Haze. Sample it. Check out the Discord. Come hang out on a Friday night. Join us in the morning for morning coffee. We're about to go to Writer's Room. You get to come to that as well. So thank you for doing that, Purple Haze. Feels darker than the first trailer for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think with edits you can do that, right? You can go to a lot of the cutscenes and a lot of the sections that are, darker and more creepy, gothic, or macabre. Or the Emperor. Isn't tomorrow? No, I'm thinking of Black Myth. I'm thinking of Black Myth Wukong. Yeah, tomorrow I think we get review embargo to drop on Black Myth. And a single from Lord Horg. I know what he's doing. He says, come on, boys. We got a few minutes to Writer's Room. We're now 20 away from 400. I see where your head's at, Lord Horg. Nice little setup there. Yeah, everybody's reporting now on the Veilguard release date trailer. So, interesting choice. Phil's, did I say 4 games? I meant more games. Just 4. Co-op better work on day 1 for Space Marine tomorrow. Dark Taco bumps the line with a gifted member and takes us to 381. You guys have 3 minutes and we're going to Writer's Room. You want to make that mad dash scramble? Go for it. I'll tell you what, I'll match it. I like throwing these gauntlets down at the end because I like gifting to the members that are here. I like gifting to the viewers that are here at the end of a stream. So if you guys get us the 20 more that we need, I'll drop a 20 bomb. I'll just match. I'll match, and we'll get the frick out of here. Destin says, the reaction to the Xbox game rumored for PS5 has basically been, I really don't like it when you tell me things I don't want to hear. Dino Brew does a member plus brand new thank you, helping us get closer to that goal of not just a Saturday celebration, but me building that PC on stream. And then Risset gifts a member and takes us to 383. Gonna do that mad dash at the end. Yeah, Jez replied to Destin and said, I know that feel. I mean, what I think has been an interesting development in all of this is there are people who have been, I think, maybe more reticent to admit that this sort of stuff was starting to happen. And they're speaking more, I feel like they're just speaking more straight about it. Ultra Lord gifts a member. He's like, come on, boys, many hands make light work. 384. We can do it. 16 more. I'll drop the 20 bomb and I'll get out of here. Oh, Detective Seeds with the 20 bomb! Detective Seeds says, let's just do it and get it over with. The man himself, the Platinum Crazy, the dude from Detective Downtown. I'm running out of nicknames. And Riddish gifts a 5 bomb and takes us to 409. And just like that, tomorrow hitting 500 is all the more easy. He says, match it, biatch. Detective Seeds. Guys, make sure and check out his YouTube channel, Detective Seeds Platinum. That is not why he gifts. I know that's not why he gifts. He's gifted for a long time, and he has been in my corner for a while, through thick and thin. And, he does have a channel that I do think you should check out, though. Detective Seeds Platinums. It's off to a roaring start. He'll be monetized before he knows it. And make sure and subscribe to his channel. He's trying to hit that. I'm actually going to do it right now. I've not subscribed to it yet. Detective Seeds Platinum. All right. It's Detective Seeds Platinums, plural. Here's his channel. See it? I'm hitting subscribe. Bing, 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 bing. Look at this. Let's go take a peek-see here. Look at that. He's already got some videos. 2,500, 2,000 views, right? He's got videos with more views than subscribers. Dude's crushing it. Go throw that dude a subscribe, all right? The detective dude from downtown. Yeah, he's the detective dude from downtown. I was just trying to say stuff. All right, here's the 20 that I promised. And let's get the frick out of here. Let's go to Writer's Room. What are you showing us here, Fuzzy? Dragon Age the Veilguard. 60 on Steam. 70. Okay. Very enjoyable commentary with his Plat videos. Check him out, guys. He's getting endorsements in chat right now. I like to celebrate and promote my friends. And he has definitely been one of those people. We are at $4.98 on the Member Plus and Above, and Call Me TK renews that Member Plus and Above. That's one of the advantages to being at a Member Plus and Above tier is when you celebrate it. When you celebrate it, it adds to this goal. That's a really great reason to bump up. It means every month you get to add to the goal. You get to help out with our weekly goal. So if you're at the $5 tier, bump up to Member Plus and you help with this goal every single week. That's why we count those. We count those because you are supporting the channel directly every single month with your Member Plus and Above. And Kirk pointed that out in a member stream. So we are at 498. We're the closest that we've ever been to that 500 milestone. Every milestone we will celebrate with the weekend stream. So at 500, 600, 700, all the way up to 1,000. And then 1,000 will be the big celebration. If we've got that many people picking up their own membership, we're going to celebrate. And I look forward to doing that with you. Let me spam the link in chat. We are going to go ahead and head to the writer's room. Oh, let me set up redirect. I forgot to set that up. Hang on. Redirect. So that when this stream ends, it should take you to the writer's room. All right. I'll spam a link in chat. All right. Hello. Okay, I can hear myself. Here we go. Thanks so much for being a member to this channel. And you probably got a gifted member this week. Another massive turnout. Heading into Friday, we only need 500 to turn Friday night into a community game night. And you guys crushed it. 410. I gifted a bunch. I gifted more than I was supposed to because I threw down a gauntlet at the end. And we're very, very close to having 500 people at Member Plus and Above. We're at 498. So consider bumping your membership up. It pulls you out of that gifted pool. It makes room for more people, supports me directly, and we'll celebrate those milestones. And Zubair came up with the idea that when we get to 1,000 people at Member Plus and Above, we've got a ways to go. But when we get there, I'll build my new PC on stream. It'll be a blast. I'm going to end the previous stream and redirect folks over, and then I'm going to change that thumbnail so that it doesn't show up as live anymore.